Good morning, beautiful people. It is Tuesday, August 18th, 2020, day 2 of Fight Week down here in Orlando, Florida. Welcome to the Pat McAfee Show. I am the man that the show is named after. I am also wearing a tank top from Massimo, who is the man who is married to the lady that was on Full House that had to pay for their kids to go to school as if they were members of the road team because they were so stupid. Almost ended up with old Massimo in jail, and now I can't find any more of his tank tops, so I'll wear them anytime I'm in warm weather. But boy, the nip slip is almost a real thing, and we're going to have a great day today. A lot to talk about in sports. The boys are here at Tone Diggs, looking fantastic, fresh off of a honeymoon. Good gold chain there. At Ty Schmidt is here as well. We got some baseball to talk about to lead off with. Can't wait to hear your thoughts. And wearing incredibly cool glasses at Boston Connor. How you doing, bub?
Fantastic. Billy Buttcheeks actually picked these out, so I feel great about it.
Billy Buttcheeks is also known as Billy Tubes for those that are listening that don't follow along with storylines on the internet. Allegedly, Billy McComas was one time in high school at a movie theater getting his Gurgenmarken.
Yep.
And he had his bare butt cheeks on the movie theater seats.
Yep.
And everybody assumed that was absolutely disgusting because those probably have not been cleaned since that day. And you could probably go get a little bit of sweat from Billy Buttcheeks at a Shelbyville movie theater near you if you're in Indiana.
Absolutely. Do not sit in any of the seats in your movie theater in here, Pat, because he did put his cheeks all over every single seat.
For those that aren't following along, yet again, we have a movie theater in the house that we are in. Great radio there by Connor. Let's get to some sports. The NBA playoffs started yesterday. Okay, big games. There was a terrible ejection that makes you think maybe the NBA's cooking the books for the Los Angeles Clippers, but that is not the leadoff news here. Okay, that is not the leadoff news. The leadoff news, once again, my favorite thing about this sport is drama in baseball. Woo! This is what baseball does. Baseball, the sport, stinks. Nobody likes watching it. I'd rather see Facci throw one, roll one into a dugout than watch an entire game of baseball, and I think I am in the majority. I believe I am in the majority.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing that I've learned to love about baseball here, especially through this COVID-19 quarantine sports stoppage, is the drama around baseball. In the offseason, it was them stopping spring training, but right before spring training was stopped, there was people in the stands holding garbage cans and signs, and they got kicked out and ejected from games, while the players that they were mocking that were on the field had never been ejected or kicked out from any games. So the drama continued during the sports stoppage. The MLBPA, the MLB couldn't figure anything out. They were negotiating. Rob Manfred, there was drama. There's a bubble. There's no bubble. There's local governments changing rules so that baseball can play in their local stadiums because that's where like billions and billions of baseball dollars come from is the local media. So there's just drama on top of drama on top of drama. Joe Kelly beans a couple guys. That becomes top line conversation for every sports. Then you find out that he said that they're rats and bitches. I mean, it's just the drama, the soap opera, the reality TV of baseball is so much better than the sport. I mean, it is so much better than the sport. I can't even fathom. And guess what? Tuesday, August 18th, we woke up right entrenched in more drama in baseball. And it revolves around play on the field, which is interesting because this is not normally how baseball operates with anything that happens on the field mattering. But last night, a man named Fernando Tatis Jr.,
Ooh, well done.
who, by the way, is son of Fernando Tatis the first.
Correct.
Oh, no, senior. Got it. By the way, think about naming my kid Patrick Justin McAfee, or Junior, just so I can call him Deuce. You know what I mean?
Nice, just like Tatum.
Yeah. Tatum.
Jason Tatum's son is Deuce, sorry.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Nickname or actual name?
I believe it's a nickname.
Yeah, see, but then I don't like it all the time. I don't like it. I'm out. I got to rechange it. But anyways, Fernando Tatis Sr. was also an MLB player, right?
Yeah.
So this kid grew up in the league.
Pretty much, yeah.
This kid grew up around baseball. Fernando Tatis Jr., you might know him from the San Diego Padres as being the guy that has taken over baseball with his home runs, his dingers, his dong shots, his piss missiles, then his incredibly athletic and entertaining celebrations afterward. He did the leg thing in the dugout the other day. It captivated everybody. He's been hitting absolute dong shots. This morning, though, he is trending for something very, very different. Very, very different. He's trending because Padres manager, so his coach, said that Jace Tingler Jace Tingler, the Padres manager, he scolded Fernando Tatis Jr. for swinging at a 3-0 pitch up 10-3 in the top of the 8th inning and hitting a home run and basically dancing on the grave of Texas. Now, I don't know much about baseball. I guess the unwritten rule says if you're up by 7 in the top of the 8th inning and you're ahead 3-0, which as a hitter, right, doesn't that mean you should swing even more? I don't know baseball tactics even more, but isn't that a pitch that you're probably going to like?
You're probably going to get a good one.
Yeah, because they're going to have to find the zone here.
Right.
So you know you're going to like it. So if you're up 7 and it's the top of the 8th, you need not swing at the pitch and hit a grand slam to continue this electricity that you've built in the MLB, where nobody's been talking about the MLB. You've been hitting home runs celebrating. He got scolded by his own coach for that, and that is why a lot of people are saying baseball is stupid. But for me, I'm saying, hey, we're talking about how dumb baseball is. That's the only time baseball really gets talked about. I think it's probably a good move. But this is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard, Ty. Speak for your sport. How does this even happen?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And you talk about the unwritten rules. Typically, it's if you're up by a lot like this and you have a 3-0 count, you don't swing unless you know you're going to go yard, which is what he did. And we talked about it. Stats matter in baseball, a lot, especially this year when guys aren't getting nearly as many at-bats. And this is why the Padres have stunk for a long time and probably always will, because they beat the piss out of someone and their manager comes out
and he's mad about
and he's bitching and whining that one of the best young stars in the game is blistering hot right now. It makes no sense. It's a terrible look.
All right, so now there's been plenty of people that have mocked. Mark Madden from Pittsburgh said, you know what the problem with baseball is? You ever think Babe Ruth thought, we're up 7, no more runs for me today? No, he never did. And all these people that are baseball purists and say that this is an unwritten rule, and the people who probably hate this are the same people that think baseball was so good back in the day, whenever they were eating steroids the entire time and all that. It's like, I hate that people are coming down on this, because Michael Irvin said it best. He said, hey, you don't want us dancing, stop us from scoring.
That's right.
And that was 100% real. And I think that's the difference. And I know this is going to sound bad. I know it's going to sound terrible. But I guess that's the difference between people that compete in team sports versus people that haven't competed in team sports and maybe have been fans of it or whatever. Hey, we've practiced our entire week to beat the hell out of that team. They have practiced the entire week. Or in baseball, probably not that many days, but they have trained. They put their team together. They had that lineup together. They put those pitchers in because they thought that could potentially give them the best thing to win. If you can't beat somebody, that's on you, okay? It's not like in the real world where you should show pity. It's like, this is the realm of competition. Mm-hmm. This is the globe environment of competing against each other. If I'm better than you, that just sucks for you. That is, I'm sorry. We're both getting paid to be here. That's the way it goes. And obviously baseball doesn't see it that way. But there was a moment where I had very similar thoughts to that Padres manager. And I feel like, as you just heard from me there, I am one of the, if you don't want us dancing, stop us from scoring guys from the beginning. I mean, I pimped punts. I mean, because I worked hard at it. So whenever something went good, I celebrated it. And when I was a kid playing soccer, same thing. It's literally my entire, I have been a big, hey, if you don't want to compete and you don't enjoy winning, maybe you shouldn't do this. I enjoy this. This is the thing. But there was one particular evening, and a lot of people know of this night because it's the same night that Troy Polamalu decided to go to the complete opposite side of a field goal block to ruin my dreams of scoring a touchdown in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in Heinz Field. With the team, the Steelers that I grew up watching, in the same stadium that I won the punt, pass, and kick championship in the same, primetime football, Sunday night football game. In that game, everybody talks about Troy Polamalu being a hole of an ass, which everybody has agreed to. That he's a terrible guy.
Big time.
Terrible guy. Ruins a lot of people's dreams.
Son of a bitch.
Real son of a bitch. One of the greatest football players to ever put on a helmet, obviously. But how many dreams does he crush? And that never gets talked about, because what we're talking about right now, if you're not good enough, don't do it. And Troy Polamalu showed me that night. Wasn't mad at him. But what we should reference is, with about 4 minutes left in the game, 4 minutes left in that same game, the Pittsburgh Steelers are up 38-10, 38-10.
Barn burner.
Fourth quarter, 4 minutes and 18 seconds left. We're 4th and 1. 4th and 1. All right, so before this drive here, before we get the ball back here, this game has been a nightmare. Troy Polamalu already ruined my dreams a couple quarters ago, I was supposed to score a touchdown. I was supposed to have a good, I was supposed to have a good time in that end zone. And it was supposed to be just a walk-in. Didn't deserve it, didn't earn that touchdown at all. Everybody else did it. I just walked in, but I'm going to celebrate it as if I've never been here before, because you know what? I've never been here before. So that moment was taken from me. Then the Steelers do what the Steelers did to the Colts there for a long time, which was just hang 100 points and 100 yards on us. They're up 38-10 in that last drive. And when we get the ball back and we're backed up, I think we're at the 15 or something, maybe the 10 where we started. And I was like, I go up to our special teams coach. I'm like, there's no way we're punting, right? And he was like, no, can't punt. Obviously, we're down 38-10, Pat, or whatever. So I go over to Chuck. I'm like, we're not going to punt, right? And Chuck's like, get out of my face, basically, right? He's got other stuff going on. He's like, he never gave me an answer. But every human that I had a conversation with, I was like, there's no way we're punting in this situation. You can't punt on primetime television down 28 in the fourth quarter with 4. So I untie my shoes. Okay, so my shoes are untied, all right? Like, loosen them up. I could still go out and hold if I had to. And if we're going to have to kick an onside kick, cool. But we have not moved much that entire game. I did not expect us to be able to do it. So I, have my shoes, loosened up, kind of almost ready to go. And then all of a sudden, it's 4th and 1, and they go punt. And I'm like, we're punting right now? We are punting the ball right now? And I jog out onto the field, okay? And that was our starting punt team there, which I very much appreciate them being in there, to hopefully not get me killed. But returning that punt, 4 minutes left in the game, up 28 points. Danny Smith, whole of an ass special teams coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who's a Pittsburgh guy who I have had, probably 20 to 30 encounters with. Mm-hmm. Great guy, by the way.
The man.
Great man. I mean, this guy, he's a Pittsburgh guy. He's electric.
Full of fire.
He chews an entire pack of gum in his mouth at one time. I mean, he is just the most electric guy on earth. I love this man. But at this moment, while I was, after tightening my shoes, which trying not to get a delayed game, as you saw, that thing was snapped at 3 seconds left. Because, 3 seconds left on the play clock. So as I'm tightening my shoes, I'm jogging out there. I see Antonio Brown back there returning, and I look over at Danny, and I go, what are you doing? And he's chomping his gum, just and and at the time I didn't think oh, they're trying to get me right now. This is them trying to get me. This is Danny. This is Danny Smith, special teams coach for the Steelers, who I have a great relationship. This is him oh, let's get him. And this is Antonio Brown going out there yep, now's the time we get Pat. Now we get a big one. Because he almost broke one on me a couple years before that, and I tackled him. Okay, so Antonio Brown had not got one on me yet all the way back. So that was when he goes out there. I'm sitting there. I punt him. Obviously, he does what he does. He and I danced with 53 and a third in the middle of the field. I didn't even touch him. Wouldn't even touched him in a tag football game. Nothing. I was on the ground. You see me diving. There's a video of it everywhere if you want to go see it. We can't run it because the NFL has shut us our entire show down. But then he gets in the end zone. He does the straddle of the goalpost. The goalpost. Puts him up 45-10 at that point, right? Pittsburgh, the stadium, which, by the way, is never emptied out, up 28 in the fourth quarter, 4 minutes left. Is need to hit the tunnels, need to get out of here. Going to be traffic crazy. That's how bad it was. A primetime game, too, in Pittsburgh. That place is empty, scattered. Place goes bonkers, obviously. I'm laying on the middle of the field just thinking this is terrible. And then my next thought was, I'm going to kill Danny Smith for putting Antonio Brown back there. So I can see how the Padres manager could have potentially heard from the Texas Rangers manager who said, hey, why would you have the hottest guy in baseball do that to us in the heat of the moment? Because I am a guy who's very much a celebrate the hell out of things guy. And at that moment, all I want to do is go up to Danny Smith and kill him. And after the game, I go, oh, you have Antonio Brown back there? Good game, Patty, or whatever. Good game, Patty. And then the next time we talked, I was like, oh, he said, you ain't never going to get me. You ain't never going to get me. Before every game, that guy and I, because he's a Pittsburgh guy. So those from Pittsburgh understand what that means. So if you're not from Pittsburgh and you're listening to the show, I'm sorry you don't understand what that means. But what that means is probably incredibly sarcastic. Okay, you can good personality. Probably loves to have a great time. I've never had a great time. I would assume he loves to have a good time. But he's just classic Pittsburgh guy. Before every single game, I would go, you having your hands team on for kickoffs today or whatever, Danny? Because we were kicking a lot of onside kicks. And I was good at them. He was like, no, I ain't doing nothing for you. That's everything. I'm like, you putting your hands team on there? He was like, oh, I ain't telling you nothing. I was like, you don't put the hands team out here. You and I are going to be trending on Twitter within the first 2 minutes. Shut up, Pat. And I just walk away. He and I had that type of relationship, and we were good friends. But when he had Antonio Brown out there, best returner in the league at the time, with 4 minutes left up to 28, I'm like, this guy, he's also your number one threat on offense. So we are risking, okay? Let's not even think for me and what you just did to my numbers and my stats with guys that are dead tired in a game that at this point does not matter, and I potentially don't get a bonus for making a Pro Bowl now because you're that guy. Let's not talk about, what if you hurt your guy? What if you hurt your guy? Mm-hmm. And he said, hey, you don't want us dancing, stop us from scoring. That's real, though.
Are there unwritten rules in the NFL? Or is that one of them, would you say, or not?
No, I don't know. I feel like in football, if there was any unwritten rules, you would know. I think maybe the conversations and the things you talk about are unwritten rules. And I would assume like maybe offensive linemen and defensive linemen have unwritten rules with each other. Like, like, hey, don't roll up on somebody. Like there's like things like that that I would assume are common sense wise, but I don't think they have anywhere near the amount of drama unwritten rules that baseball has over there with Ty, that sport over there. It's awesome that we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Hey, like baseball should almost think like, you know what we are? We're keeping up with the Kardashians, dude.
Yes.
All right. Like our product, okay, you're going to like the show. Maybe you'll get captivated by it, but wait till you hear what happens with Lord Disick. Wait until like Trevor Bauer came out. Bauer outage. He says, hey, Tatis Jr., listen up. Keep swinging 3-0 if you want to. This guy's a pitcher no matter what the game situation is. Keep hitting homers no matter what the situation is. Keep bringing energy and flash to baseball and making it fun. The only thing you did wrong was apologize. Stop that. And Trevor Bauer, Power Hour, by the way, is a man who has taken a baseball from the mound and thrown it over center field because he got so upset, which, by the way, means whenever he wins, probably quite a spectacular celebration as well. That's a competitive human that understands that whenever you accomplish something you've been working your ass off for, it calls for a little bit of emotions, even though some people hate it.
Yeah, your situation was much worse because, like football, you can't have AB in there with 4 minutes left and getting hurt. Tatis, you start the game, you end the game in baseball normally, and I'm sure there's a situation in baseball where a team has been up 7 runs in the 8th inning and the other team has come back to win.
But I thought this was going to be a blowout, like Texas hadn't got on the board, and then I watched the video. They've already scored 3. Okay, so they have gotten some hits. They have seen the ball a little bit. Now, granted, San Diego has done much better, which I guess is not normal. They stink.
Yeah, they stink.
Okay, so San Diego's done better, but what happens in the 9th if a guy gets hot? Like, how come baseball doesn't have the old let's go ahead and put this game out of its misery mindset? And why is there an unwritten rule against putting people out of their misery? Do you guys not like competition in baseball?
No,
do you not like talent in baseball?
See, the good teams don't give a rat's ass about that. I mean, listen, you'll see the Yankees stepping on throats every chance they get.
I got a bunch of savages in that box.
Yeah, exactly. No, and you look at it too, like none of these players care about it. Like the players aren't saying anything. It's all like the columnists and writers and some of the managers who have the issues with it. Like these younger guys don't care about the unwritten rules. They'll pimp home runs. They'll celebrate strikeouts. Like these guys don't care about it. They're trying to have fun and look good and play good. Like they,
and think about maybe making the sport entertaining.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be cool. Hey, here's a concept that works.
Get the olds out of baseball.
We got it whole. Can't do that. That's quite a generalization.
That's what you have to.
You gotta
on
remember,
the field, the managers, not the fans.
You got to remember, there are some olds that get after it, I would assume.
Oh, yeah.
But the olds that talk are normally the loudest.
Yes.
Not many olds talk.
A lot. Actually,
quite a few.
Complete opposite.
Oh, really?
Yeah, what we're talking about here is the complete opposite.
Oh, they've got opinions, my friend.
Yeah. Huh. And they would say it's from experience and all that. But I would also say you're potentially jaded by things changing and you not respecting what they've become because the way you did it you think is the absolute best. Classic story.
Boom.
Since the beginning of time.
Not 1965 anymore, you know?
It's actually 2020, if you didn't know.
What?
And this year is what? Couldn't fathom what the olds think of this year. Oh, I actually could. Go on Twitter one time. 17 minutes after the hour, we got Trent Dilfer today and Pierre Mcguire. Trent Dilfer in the second hour. We'll talk about quarterbacks, Tom Brady, Cam Newton, Phillip Rivers, you name it. Then in Pierre Mcguire, we'll talk about the bubble NHL playoffs that the Penguins aren't in, so I completely forgot was existing. Can't wait to talk baseball. This is the Pat McAfee Show. Oh, shit. Hey, Steven, fuck you.
Go, cut. And it is off the wall.
Go, cut. This is a good at-bat. Hey, nice pitch. I think I just pulled a hammy. Hey. Back. Hey, fuck you, Steven. What inning?
Top of the second.
Jesus.
Here comes McAfee.
I saw that thing jumping out of the glove.
Hey, what was that?
Would have been nice to take a nap earlier.
Another throw.
Get back.
First. He's going back on it now. Coming over the center fielder. Harris makes the catch.
Cousin.
James.
What was that?
And the catcher goes, I had to give you one.
1-1 pitch.
Let's go.
Line drive.
Son of a
at
bitch.
the
This is a good at-bat.
In my head, it was like, oh, yeah, you're going to drop this for sure. What the fuck are you even doing here? Why did we sign up for this? What's going on? It all comes down to this. My last at-bat. Hey, I'm going to get on. You bring me home.
This is your life on the line, fucker.
Let me tell you something. You're going to take an L, okay? You're going to take one.
So I think that the close your eyes and swing method is perfect for you.
Oh, this is hardball.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Jesus. You have no prayer.
All right. Number one. Right fielder. McAfee.
Oh, boy.
McAfee at the plate.
Here's the thing about home security companies.
Tell us about it.
Most trap you with high prices, tricky contracts, and lousy customer support.
Oh,
worst.
So
worst.
while there are a lot of options out there, there's only one no-brainer, and that's Simply Safe.
Yeah.
Simply Safe's got everything you need to protect your home with none of the drawbacks of traditional home security. It's got an arsenal of sensors and cameras to blanket every room, window, and door tailored specifically for your home. Professional monitoring keeps watch day and night, ready to send police, fire, or medical professionals if there's an emergency. And you can set it up yourself in just under an hour. Just peel and stick the sensors exactly where you need them, no technician required. And there's no contract, no pushy sales guys, no hidden fees, and no fine print. And all this starts at just $15 a month.
What?
And we're not the only ones who think Simply Safe is great. U.S. News & World Report named it the best overall home security of 2020.
Wow,
Number
that's
one,
crazy.
because it is.
That's crazy.
Try Simply Safe today at simplysafe.com/Pat, and you get a free shipping and a 60-day risk-free trial. There's nothing to lose. That's simplysafe.com/Pat.
Shout out to Simply Safe and Utah for doing an incredible job on that read there. Some big news in the world of basketball. Space Jam is coming back, and the Toon Squad uniform that LeBron James was rocking on the internet yesterday was electric. People hated it. People bashed it. The only problem I have is that his shorts didn't fit his legs. Okay, he is a Nike guy. You see him riding up in the middle, us big thigh people have to worry about that. Aside from that, I love the uniform. I assume Connor's going to be wearing one of these in the office within the next week and a half. And there's a lot of people bashing it, but I think anything that they would have put out, people are going to bash, because the original Space Jam is a movie that even people that didn't watch movies as kids watched. What a classic that was. And it's going to be tough to top it if you're Braun. That is going to be a real problem for him. But an entire new generation is going to get to experience Space Jam, and that's all anybody really cares about, I'd assume.
Yeah, people are going to crush those no matter what because they don't like LeBron, but I like them.
Me too.
I think those are pretty
You guys
good.
both like LeBron, though.
Yeah, well.
I hate LeBron.
No, I remember I came around on LeBron. Remember, I came around on the other way. Like, I started seeing why people hate him because I always viewed him through the eyeballs of a guy that liked him. Okay, so all the hate of him, I'm like, I don't get it. This guy's so good. He never gets in trouble. This guy, I mean, the biggest trouble he got in was he had a Hummer when he was in high school.
Yeah.
That was on 24s. They were This guy has lived up to every single hype and expectation he's ever had to live up to. And then once I started hanging around people that hate him more, because I kept those people out of my life, by the way, because normally the people that hate him, tend to hate greats. Pessimistic people normally a little bit. But then, or not pessimistic, they would say realist, but, start picking holes in a lot of things. And I live in the fairy tale world. Yeah, that's good. Let's keep it moving. So once I started hanging around people that hated him and I started seeing why people hate him, I understood why people hate him. They're like, of course here he does this instead of this. In this situation, he says this instead of this. And it's always going to be a comparison to Jordan or whatever, but there's no chance Space Jam can keep up with the old Space Jam. And that, I think, is a fatal flaw by Braun.
Well, yeah, I mean, also Space Jam had Bill Murray in it. And LeBron, you forgot to mention, received a few Hummers in high school as well. But for me, who's going to be on the Monstars?
Way to go. Way to go.
Who's going to be the Monstars?
Way to go. How hard? Okay, in your head. You actually cut off. Ty was about to say something.
Yeah, was he?
You cut him off just so you could say that.
Blinders are on.
Okay, we get it that you know what a Hummer is.
Yeah. So do the people.
Diggs' family had a Hummer.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, Diggs' family rolled
Coach
through the.
Diggs?
Coach Diggs had 1.5 miles per gallon on that thing whenever they first came out.
He only went 2 miles to work every day, so he basically filled it up every day there and back.
The Diggs is flexing through the neighborhood, though, and that Hummer was awesome. And I'd assume, by the way, guess what? I'd assume some of the Diggs got some Hummers, too. Oh, we go, Connor.
They didn't. Do you read into anything where LeBron was afraid to put 23 on the jersey and went back to his Heat 6?
Yes.
Well, I think it was smart, just strictly because now you're going to be judged directly as, are you a better actor than Jordan as well? So I just think it's all. And what if they, by the way, they probably retired that jersey number for the Toon Squad.
Yep.
That's probably in the movie. 23 was probably retired already, right? So he had to come in as 6 or whatever. And remember, whenever he decided to go from 23 to 6, he said, if he won't be the logo, at least we could retire his number. Then something happened. He went right back to 23. He's like, okay, you want to keep talking? All right, here we go. I'll come right back. I like what Braun Bond's doing. I wish he would have created maybe a new movie, a whole new series franchise. Yes. But you know how much money that would take? Not that he doesn't have it. But now here you fall into a script that's already basically made for you. You get a chance to maybe test your chops, which we've already seen him on Sprite commercials dominating. And I think the uniform is nice. I think the uniform will sell a bunch to kids, which is all they give a damn about.
I wonder who the evil manager of the Monstars is.
Gary Krause. Going to still be Krause, right? Because it was Krause in the last one.
Yeah, it was Krause.
That was 100% Krause in the last. Oh, maybe it's going to be the Cavaliers owner, the guy that wrote that
Dan
letter.
Gilbert.
But didn't they kind of get back? They kind of.
I don't know. He called LeBron Benedict Arnold. Yeah. So
was that after he left for the Lakers, or was that before?
That was when he went to Miami.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But he came back, and I think they made up potentially.
Only won a championship, so you would think so.
Yeah, you're welcome. That still one of the greatest parades I've ever seen.
I still think this is going to be better than the original one because the nostalgia is good, but Jordan, terrible actor, horrible acting chops. He's really bad. LeBron is actually pretty good. Trainwreck, he was in that. He was very good in that. Had some comedy chops. He's got his own production studio. I mean, LeBron gets Hollywood. He knows what he's doing.
Plus, he does some great acting on The Shop too. I mean, he really does know.
No, that's all genuine. But the and he was going to sue. Remember when he was going to sue Saban?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
See, there are some things that he does that people go. There's a lot of things that he does that people potentially go, okay, I hate it for it, but I don't pay attention to this. I just keep it moving. I got my blinders on, so I can just continue to like a guy who's potentially going to go down as the greatest of all time whenever it's all said and done. Can't say it now. Gotta say it in 20, 30 years, for the people that got a chance to witness Jordan. And when Jordan came in the league, he was a completely different basketball player than they had ever seen before, and I'm learning that from watching The Last Dance, where he was doing things that nobody was doing. So he was the trailblazer, set the tone, changed the game completely, was the greatest, is the greatest, won a bunch of stuff, blah, 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 all that. But now, if that was the first person to do something I had never seen before, and that's my first impression of the guy, I'm obviously going to hold on very tight to the fact that that person is the greatest player of all time. Like, that is something I would do. That's why you hear a lot of people that are older, like, well, there's no chance that LeBron can do it. But if you look at how much better basketball has gotten, and that's why I don't think you can compare the two. But saying that LeBron is going to go down as one of the greatest of all time in the conversation is a factual statement, whether people hate LeBron or not. Like, that is just a factual statement, and people are going to have to deal with that. And I don't want to turn into a sports show that's LeBron and Jordan, because after watching the last ride, you can't debate the two, because it's two different styles of basketball. Jordan was playing against people that were dribbling basketballs over their head like this, and if somebody did a crossover, it was like, oh my God, did he just dribble with his left hand? Oh my God. I've never seen somebody spin with a ball before. Like, if LeBron was to play back then, he'd probably average Wilt Chamberlain numbers, because, by the way, Wilt Chamberlain was playing against people that had never played against somebody. So I think they're not comparable. But LeBron will go down as one of the greatest of all time. And I hope you're right about Space Jam. But, boy, the sequels never hold up to the original. It just kind of seems like that's an inevitability.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Yeah. I mean, that's true, but I really do. I think it's going to be good. I still don't know which players are in it. I don't think they've really released that yet.
Anthony Davis is in it, but a lot said no.
Foxy, what was happening? I was golfing with Chris. I got a chance to go down to Aaron Rodgers thing, and me and Chris Paul were on the same tee box.
Oh, yeah. CP3.
What did he say, Foxy? He said that he learned that he said no to Space Jam from a notification.
There was literally breaking news right when we got to the golf course with Chris, and you were like, so Chris, you're going to be in Space Jam. And he's like, man, I didn't even know about Space Jam. He said something like that and literally just had no clue.
He learned about the notification and pop-up about Space Jam. Yeah, Billy Buttcheeks was back there in the corner relaxing, by the way. I don't know if you saw him. Full hangout, full relax
Put your pants
session.
on, Bill.
But, yeah, Chris Paul, I don't think anybody knows who's in it yet, because I don't even think players know if they're going to be in it or not, or be asked to be in it. I would assume a lot of players, by the way, grew up watching Space Jam, and if they got a chance to be in it, I would assume a lot of guys will say yes to that. I don't know why you wouldn't. And it feels like a lot of the NBA like and respect LeBron, too. It's like he speaks a lot for the league, I think. So all the things about, will he be able to get players in there like Jordan was able to? If he sets up that Iron Paradise that The Rock sets up at his gym, where there's a basketball court across the street from where he's shooting, though, and they're just running pickup games, we need to figure out a way to get in there. We need to figure out a way to get in there if that's happening.
And I believe that was his number one stipulation. It was the same thing. It was like, all right, yeah, we'll do this, but you guys are going to build me like a state-of-the-art facility so that I can train and play while we're filming.
How cool would that be able to do?
Awesome.
All right. I'll do it, I guess. How much you paying me? 30, 40 million? Maybe. But I also need, hear me out, I need a 10,000 square foot house that I'm going to sleep in.
Okay.
That needs that 5G Wi-Fi. I need an entire basketball arena, because we might sell tickets to that. And I also need at least 3 to 4 Sprinter vans that are souped up from bolts to nuts to take me from across the street, because I might take each one. And like, you got it, sir. We'll waste $700 million on everything else but the movie, and then we'll wonder why the movie doesn't make money in 2 years from now whenever we do that. Hollywood is wild with their budgeting over there. I like LeBron just deboing them, though. I want this, I want this, I want this. I like the jersey. A lot of people on the internet did not. I like the jersey. I assume it'll do well. I also like the fact that the NFL is back in training camp. Yesterday, first day of real practices, and boy, there were some casualties. Now, this is not out of the norm. A lot of people will say this is out of the norm because of the quarantine and because of the no OTAs and the no workouts. So they're going to assume that the players were potentially not ready for training camp. But this does happen every single year. Now, granted, this year, the amount of people and the stars that got hurt, a little bit alarming. But injuries are something that happen whenever people get back into physical contact, whenever they're not used, their body's not used to having it for, 5-6 months. Yesterday, there was a litany of players that ended up getting hurt. Wide receiver Jalen Hurd from the 49ers out for 2020. Cowboys D tackle Jared McCoy tore his quad, out for 2020. Bengals cornerback Trey Waynes, the first time the Bengals really went all in the offseason in free agency. They spent money. Big ticket corner Trey Waynes, first day of training camp, out for 2020 with an injury. Cardinals cornerback Robert Alford, out for 2020. Ravens cornerback Eamon Marshall, out for 2020. Eagles D lineman, Jets wide receiver, Jags tight end, Chiefs tight end, Bengals wide receiver receiver A.J. Green tweaked his leg. Eagles D lineman. There was a lot of injuries with a lot of big names, okay? Everson Griffin getting hurt, or not getting hurt, but getting signed by the Cowboys is a big deal now all of a sudden because Gerald McCoy just got out. But there's a lot of injuries first day of training camp, and I would assume that a lot of the narrative has been, well, it's because there was no offseason and guys were locked up, which could be true, by the way. It's going to be very hard to find a place to do one-on-ones if you're an offensive lineman or defensive lineman, if you're not allowed to be in public with other people for a few months. So maybe some bodies weren't ready for it, but this is just the way the NFL is. And if you could stay healthy, you win games in the NFL. Ultimately, you got to obviously have good players. You got to have a great quarterback. You got to have a good coaching. But if you can stay healthy, you will win games. That is all that matters. And if it's your big guys getting hurt, that's not good for your team's chances. A lot of big players got injured yesterday. I don't know how it's going to pan out.
So is this why like elite guys like Clowney and AQ Shipley have held out until later in training camp because people will get hurt and then they'll just get picked up?
You're going to get hurt inevitably. If you're going to get hurt, you're going to now. Oh man. There's going to be scientists and doctors that potentially athletic professionals that are going to come after me for saying that. But I feel like if you're going to tear your Achilles in a non-contact situation in practice, that thing was going to go anyways. Okay. And I very much believe, like I am a guy who believes like if you're going to get hurt in training camp, you would have got hurt in a game. Like it's just, I feel like your body is either going to happen or not going to happen. Like that freak situation is going to happen or it's not going to happen. But it also, I mean, it limits risk obviously, but it also, if you're one of these older guys and you're missing training camp, you don't have to do the COVID-19 thing every morning. You don't have to go through hours and endless hours of meetings and this and sleep. It's just training camp is just a grind. Yeah. For me, not so much. I had a good time. I'd bounce around. I bounce around from meeting rooms. Like, how we doing here? Okay, team feeling good. How we doing? All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow. But for the guys that are banging into each other, man, even if you're a vet 10 years in and you're in the greatest shape, those first couple of days are miserable and you're just hoping your body holds up. A lot of people injured yesterday, as does happen every single year. Let's get to a break. We have to talk hockey on the other side. I don't want to because the Penguins are out. Thought the Penguins are going to win the COVID Cup. But Pierre Mcguire will call us from the Edmonton bubble, Western Conference playoffs for hockey. What should we keep an eye out for, Pierre? How's it been going? What's life like in the bubble? Is it boring? Is it exciting? How about this music here? A little Florida feel here. I like what we're doing here. Zito got a massive chain. You'll see that in the second hour. This is the Pat McAfee Show. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show, Tuesday, August 18th. Joining us now is a man who's in the Edmonton bubble for the NHL. We should let the beat drop, I guess. This is for Pierre right here. Pierre Mcguire. What's up, Pierre?
How you doing, Pat?
Could you hear that beat drop right there? That sounds like that's something right out of your playlist. Am I accurate in thinking that?
Oh, yeah, especially when I'm at the rink. Absolutely, 100%.
Hey, Beard looks good. I haven't got a chance to see a lot of Western Conference playoff games. How have you been performing? You feel like you've been on top of your game? Feel like the words are coming out good?
I hope so. I think so. I think I've done 30 games in whatever the amount of days we've been here. So last Friday I did 3. This Saturday I did 2. Sunday I did 3. And yesterday I did 2. And I have 2 more today. So been pretty busy.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Has it been a bit tiring in this bubble? And I mean, obviously for production and television, it's a little bit different than the players. But what has life been like in there? Everybody just kind of busy doing their work, going home? Is that kind of the narrative for everybody in there?
Great question, and the answer is yes. I think the professionalism of the players and the coaches and the trainers has been phenomenal. We've got a small production crew out here right now, Pat, so everybody's kind of just hunkering down together. But it's pretty amazing when you think about it. There's only 3 hotels in the Edmonton pod. They're all connected through a chain-link fence walkway where nobody can get in or nobody can get out unless they're part of the NHL pod system or bubble. And you get to know everybody pretty quick. The other day, I was just walking in the building. I see Max Pacioretty of the Vegas Golden Knights, Paul Stastny of the Vegas Golden Knights. Right after that, I see Marc-Andre Fleury. And everybody's kind of just become a small family, believe it or not, just discussing different things, discussing the hockey, discussing their families, discussing friends. So it's been kind of neat that way. But I would tell you, I think fatigue will sit in as we go along here. I had a chance to talk to a coaching staff yesterday, and their biggest concern is the everyday testing and the amount of fatigue that can set in just from being in the same place for such a long period of time.
Yeah, and let alone the games. A lot of games have gone to overtime. There's been a lot of free hockey. Free hockey. Yeah. There's been a lot of free hockey out there. So the testing, is it every single day, every morning? Is there a time that people have to go in? Because I assume the amount of hours it takes to return a result is a little bit longer than expected.
You can't leave your hotel until you have a temperature test. So they have these computerized situations that are set up in the lobby of all 3 hotels and also in the lobby of the rink. It only lasts for 12 hours. So you got to get your temperature checked every 12 hours before you leave your building, whether it's the rink, whether it's your hotel. You have to be checked. So that's the first part of the process. The second part is once you get to the rink, the league set this up unbelievably well. They do it in alphabetical order. And so I'm McGuire, so I go L through P. That's the line I go through. And they have a piece of paper there set up with your name on it. You pick one of the 8 lanes that's available. You go in, and there's a nurse practitioner there that tests you for COVID. One day it's a nasal swab, one day it's a throat swab. And then you have to go through security at the arena, and then you're allowed into the arena.
Wait, is this weird? You mentioned, by the way, I don't want to say that you ever look anything less than fantastic, because you do look fantastic at all times, but you do look as if this has been quite a process. What has been the reaction? What was the expectation, you think, by the players and even you going into the bubble versus reality in the bubble?
I knew it was going to be a process. I think everybody else did too, but I think you as you prepare for it, it's like anything else. There's always going to be hiccups. There's always going to be changes that you have to go through. And I think the biggest thing is just every day of going through it. I think, not for me, because I'm not playing. I'm not getting beat up every day. But I think the fatigue factor does set in for the players. I really do. And, the hardest thing for me is just to prepare for 2 or 3 games a day. So that's more cerebral than it is physical. For those guys, it's more physical than it is cerebral. And then I think it starts to affect your psyche. You've got loved ones that aren't even close to being here. And so I think for the players, that's going to be the issue as we go deeper and deeper into this.
Who does that benefit? Because when I was watching that 5 overtime game, there was a couple guys on the ice who still had juice in the 5th overtime. You could tell, those are those are the guys who, in football, no matter what we were doing, they always had energy when everybody else was dead tired. Who does it benefit, this kind of long, drawn-out situation?
Well, I think the guys are obviously unbelievably well fit professionally. I'm talking about their cardiovascular system, their leg strength, everything else, but also the guys that did a lot of work during the pause. Some guys didn't work as hard as others just because they didn't have the facilities available or they weren't able to skate, whereas some of the guys that went back to Europe.
Is that why the Penguins lost? Is that why the Penguins lost? What the?
No, the Penguins lost because of exactly what I told you before we went into the pause, or into the tournament, I should say. Carey Price and Shea Weber affected the outcome of that series unbelievably, and the Penguins just weren't deep enough to overcome that.
All right. Who's going to win the Stanley Cup?
I don't do that, but I would tell you this. I saw a team yesterday from Colorado that is really, really good, and Nathan McKinnon as good as any player in the National Hockey League right now. And he's surrounded with an amazing supporting cast. It's got a lot of grit and a lot of intestinal fortitude. I'd also tell you that the Vegas Golden Knights are really good from out west. They're outstandingly good. They're amazingly well coached. And in the East, I think anybody could win. Tampa's good. Boston's good. Even though Washington's down 3-0, they could push back. One of the biggest surprises are the New York Islanders and what they're doing. It's been an amazing tournament so far, Pat. It really has been.
The NHL is looking at this as a massive success, I'd assume, because there's been zero. I've heard zero COVID. Any COVID diagnosis is out of the hubs. The games have been on television. The games have been good. The games have been competitive. It feels like this is a massive, smashing success for the NHL. Is that how it is from the inside?
Absolutely. I told you, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, that I thought this was a shining moment for the National Hockey League and Commissioner Bettman and Deputy Commissioner Daly, and also for the National Hockey League Players Association. I really believe that. But the thing I'm most proud of is the way the players have handled this, Pat. They've been amazingly professional and no complaining at all, Pat. They're just out here busting their tails every single day. The caliber of the play has been phenomenal, and the competitive nature of these games. If you don't want to be here, you'll find out because you won't be here long because you just won't be good enough or intense enough to compete. But all these teams are just competing at another level, which I never expected that to be after 4.5 months away from the rink. I'm so proud of the players and the way they've carried themselves.
So you would say that the standard of the play has been definitely upheld, which a lot of people were worried about. A lot of people were like, well, there'll be no fans to get them motivated. They'll be in an interesting setting. There'll be a lot of grind. You think the standard, for people that haven't watched the NHL playoffs, you would say that the standard of play, the rate of play, is one that the NHL is very, very thrilled with?
Oh, absolutely. I would say the level of play has been just as good as any level of play we've had in a Stanley Cup playoff run before. And especially when you consider you're in the middle of the summer, a lot of people were concerned about the ice quality. Well, I can tell you, I can't speak for Toronto because I'm not there, but I can tell you the ice quality in Edmonton's as good or better than any ice quality we have at any other time of the season in the National Hockey League. So that's something they should be really proud of as well, and that allows the players to play at a higher level. But you watch some of the skill plays of a Jonathan Toews or Patrick Kane or, you watch Jonathan Marchessault of Vegas or you watch Riley Smith of Vegas, or before he got eliminated, Connor McDavid of Edmonton, or Nathan McKinnon, or Mikko Rantanen, and you watch some of these players play, and you're like, "Whoa, these guys are really good."
I heard Edmonton's a dump. Happy to hear that that's not the case.
Should have been a punt. You should have been a punter out here for the Edmonton football team. They always won a lot of great cups.
Well, I'll tell you what, sadly, unfortunately, I do believe the CFL is something that I don't know if it's made it not going to survive the quarantine. I enjoyed CFL immensely, but they said they're going to have their biggest year coming back next year. Let's talk a little bit more about the coverage. That 5 overtime game that they had, or you covering 3 games in one day or anything, are you just housing Red Bulls back there? What are you doing? Is Adderall cracked into the Pierre Mcguire? Like, how are you staying alive? 3, that's a long time, especially whenever you're going throughout the process that you're going in every day. A lot of people talk about the players. Let's put the players aside for just a moment here. Let's talk about Pierre Mcguire and the production staff here. That seems like a long ass day for you.
It is a long day, and I start radio in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, which I've been doing for 22 years now. I start that show at 6 a.m. here. So usually I leave the hotel around 10:30 or 11 in the morning Mountain Time, and I get back around midnight, and then I'm up around 5:30 in the day. I'll get about another hour's sleep. I'll go to the gym. What's the cool part about the pod is the referees are all staying in our hotel. You should see how fit these guys are. So I get a chance to go in the gym and work out with them, which is a lot of fun. And then I head right to the rink and spend the rest of the day at the rink. But Wayne Gretzky owns a restaurant here in the arena, and it's open for all of us in the pod, and the food's been great. So that's where we go between games and just stock up on food and then just keep working.
Well, Pierre, I'll tell you what. That will never get talked about on the broadcast or on Twitter whenever people are tweeting about Pierre Mcguire. I want to let you know the fact that you're running on like 3-4 hours of sleep every single day, calling 2-3 games, that is why, Pierre Mcguire, you are a living legend in this show's book. I want to let you know that, Pierre. You keep powering through, brother. We appreciate the hell out of you.
Thanks a lot, Pat. I appreciate being on with you, and thanks so much for your passion for our sport because it really does matter. It really does. Thank you very much.
Well, the Penguins lost. I lost my passion pretty quickly. But I do enjoy watching nightly. I don't have a horse in the race anymore, Pierre. I told you, best player to ever play hockey, Sidney Crosby, was going to guide us through this COVID Cup, and the complete opposite happened. So now I have to realign and refocus my entire hockey life.
Well, I don't know. There were a lot of injuries, too, I think, that your team was dealing with. I don't think this is all on Sydney. I think you got to give some credit to the other team, and Carey Price was phenomenal. So there you go.
Yeah, they said the goalie stood on his head, we'd be in problems. Nick, host of That's Hockey Talk, has a question for you, Pierre.
Pierre, goaltending standing on their head, that's been kind of a theme of the playoffs so far. Jonas Korpisalo in Columbus. And then you look at what Jake Allen was able to do for St. Louis, and then Halak coming in to back up Tuukka Rask, who opts out in Boston. Both of those teams go on to win 2 straight games. Can you talk about, like, where's that switch? How do they find to flip that switch when the backup comes in and you're down against the ropes, and then you come back and win 2 straight games with backup goalies?
I think that's a great question. I think part of that is because of how hard these guys practice, the backup goalies, number one. Number two, the players rally around them, so they get a little bit bigger, they get a little bit faster, and they get a little bit more fearless when it comes to blocking shots because they want to help the guy do well. Because usually those backup goalies are pretty popular guys because they stay out later in practice and help the players, in terms of the shooting and stuff like that. So there's a team bond there. But I think the biggest thing is you talk about Halak. He's got amazing experience. Go back to 2010 and look what he did with the Montreal Canadiens, getting to the Stanley Cup Eastern Conference Final, which was amazing. They had no right even being there, but he got him there. Halak's got a lot of experience, so he's one example. But the performance I saw the other day from Corey Crawford of the Chicago Blackhawks, which is forcing a Game 5 tonight against Vegas, was unbelievable. That was as well as I've seen Corey play since Chicago won the Stanley Cup in 2015. He was off the charts good against Vegas in Game 4.
We just missed the heart out for the radio there, so we got nothing but time now. That's not your fault, by the way. You answered that incredibly. Probably more our fault, which, by the way, we're in a quarantine as well, by the way. It looks very different than yours. We are in like a 20,000 square foot mansion down here in Orlando. But we want to let you know you're the man. Stay positive through this thing. Try to somehow maintain your energy because you are a gift to hockey, my friend, and a gift to the show.
Thanks a lot, Pat. I appreciate it. Take care and stay safe down there. Lots of sunscreen for you.
Well, I'm very pale, as are you. We're both, our names start with M C. I mean, we are glow. I have a good base going, though, even though it might not look like it. I have a pretty good base, so I think I can go out there and rotisserie myself.
Excellent. Well done. Talk to you soon.
What's a word we can get you to say in the middle of a game out there when you're bored? Like maybe it'll give you a little something like to spice up the energy.
You tell me, and I'll try to put it in.
I would like to go next door neighbor clap bomb. I'd like you to sneak that in there. That's my shot. Next door neighbor clap bomb. That's my shot.
Well, I don't know if I can do that, but I might get clap bomb in there.
Okay, all right. When Pierre gets clap bomb in there, if somebody could please clip that and send that to us, we'd be very grateful. Ladies and gentlemen, living legend, Pierre Mcguire. Yeah. Well, that sounds like a schedule that I would not be able to fucking do.
That is wild.
That's like our fall there.
Yes. Yeah.
But we weren't being hassled with things being shoved in our face. I couldn't even fathom being tired, miserable, going from one thing to another, then having to sit there and like, all right, we're going to shove this down your throat now. It's like, all right, here we go. Go ahead and do it, I guess. Let's go ahead and enjoy this life. It sounds... Now, the players, obviously, same thing, because they're fucking skating, sleeping, icing, skating, sleeping, icing, and doing that. That's terrible. But nobody, when I watched that 5 overtime game, I was thinking, how are these fucking broadcasters have any energy at this point? I have no idea how you...
6 a.m. to midnight every day is going.
Pierre Mcguire's a legend. He gets clap bomb in. I would like some motherfuckers to clip that for us.
That would be better.
Yeah. By the way, him saying clap bomb, I think other people will clip as well. Just Pierre Mcguire loosening and letting a clap bomb fly. All right, I'm going to run to the bathroom. I guess we had a guy cleaning the pool back here in the middle of the show or a little bit, or I didn't see it, but the whole world saw it, I guess. I got a lot of tweets saying, hey, there's a guy in your back here. There's a guy back here. He was cleaning the pool. I was sweating in there yesterday with the pool basketball, trying to get a little workout in.
Oh, yeah? How's the shot?
Hey. Light ball. Okay, light ball, which is not normal. I'm not used. So for a light ball, I think I just raise it up a little higher whenever I shoot it. It takes a little, takes a little strength off.
A European shot.
Yeah, I'm going high. I look like Larry Bird almost when I'm shooting. Oh, but splish splash, that ball be taking a fucking back. We're back on the other side. Good morning, beautiful people. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show, Hour 2 here on this Tuesday, August 18th. It is officially fight week time. Yeah! That's right. I will be fighting Adam Cole this Saturday at NXT TakeOver 30 SummerSlam weekend. You can watch that on the WWE Network, which is free for new subscribers. That show will begin around 7 p.m. I'm not sure when our fight will be in the card, but I will keep you updated as the week goes on. We have some breaking news out of the baseball world. The baseball world is one that we have fallen in love with strictly because of the reality TV and the drama and controversy surrounding the actual sport, not so much for the sport itself. Well, here's some more news off the field. Major League Baseball, being reported, by the way, by Jet Passon, a friend of the show. Major League Baseball has begun crafting an operations manual for a playoff bubble, an integral step toward. Jeez. Z, that's all me, dude. I could see how you potentially do this. An integral step toward, that's a wild. By the way, the fact that this is the sentence he decided to put together.
You gotta talk
Major League Baseball has begun crafting an operations manual for a playoff bubble, an integral step toward making a safer postseason a reality, sources tell ESPN. Along with Emily Kaplan, news on how baseball's potential bubble could resemble the NHL. So this was something that a lot of people thought MLB was going to do from the very beginning. Arizona and Florida actually made full announcements about professional sports being able to take place in their states because baseball was potentially looking for a bubble. Before the NBA was baseball looking to try to bubble up and get everything done. Now, there was a lot of give and take. There was a lot of pushback on that. The players didn't love it. Obviously, now after seeing the NBA and the NHL do it, I assume the players are a little bit softer on that. But for baseball, they needed to do the regular season in all the local cities because the local medias are where a lot of the money's coming from. Local radio, local TV. Now, I don't know why local TV and local radio couldn't have just reported from the bubbles like they have NBA and NHL people doing. But for whatever reason, Rob Manfred didn't think that was possible. So they travel around city to city. The Marlins have a massive outbreak because of an alleged trip to a grocery store for one gallon of milk.
Yep.
And then there's a couple Cardinals players get it, a couple other teams get it, and now there's games being postponed, there's games being pushed. We'll drop down to 7 innings, and everybody in baseball knows that the postseason is where they make all their real money. Now, they told us that the local media is where they made all their real money. Then we're told that postseason is where they make all their money. So somebody has to be lying, but postseason is definitely where people watch baseball. So I think all baseball is trying to do is get through this 60-game season, however the hell we can do it, and then when it matters, when we only have a certain of them, this is a smart move. Everybody probably thinks you should have done this months ago.
Yep, you said it best. You can't have the stars missing. You can't be postponing games and having one series ending 10 days before another series. You can't be playing 7-inning games in the playoffs when baseball is baseball and needs to be baseball. So the bubble idea, it's worked in every other sport. It should work for baseball for the postseason.
Yeah, and then you look at like what they're doing right now. Things are much different with how they're responding to players getting COVID than they were early. You know, they kind of just said like, okay, let's do it. But then with the Cardinals, like they postponed like a week and a half worth of games. So they realize like, hey, no one can get sick. We have to bubble up when the games matter most.
So baseball stinks, right?
The worst.
The sport itself stinks.
I love it.
There's a lot of things.
I love baseball.
MLS.
Baseball still.
You know? MLS was gold.
I was watching MLS. I was watching entire games of MLS just because you had no idea what was going to happen. I mean, you literally had no clue what was going to happen. Tone Diggs could look like he was playing for a goalie for a couple of the teams, a couple of games. I mean, that is why it was awesome. Baseball, the sport, as a fan, if you didn't play it growing up,
right,
which I did not.
Very boring.
And
if your team stinks.
And if you're Pittsburgh Pirates, that game is tough to watch. But all of the nonsense around baseball is so compelling. I mean, it is absolutely compelling. What's that?
I said I was talking about the Red Sox because Tony gave me a dirty look. He's got the Pirates hat on. But this confirms that the MLB is going to do the bubble next season, right? Since there was such a failure without it.
Well, we don't know. Hey, listen. No, oh my God.
I'm just saying.
Allegedly,
because the NBA's already thinking about
it. Listen, please, okay? Just like Herb Street said on March 27th about how college football is not going to be able to happen with this, and we told him he needs to shut up, we need to stay on the course of assuming that this is not going to last a long time, this whole thing.
Right.
You saw the party in Wuhan. Everybody's seen it. If you're on the internet, Wuhan, the epicenter of this entire thing. Was it a bat? A lot of people, I mean, we can
don't
get
ask
into
Germany.
Who know? We don't know. There's a lot of things that could happen, but we do know where it was started was Wuhan. Wuhan, last night, a video surfaced on the internet of them having an absolute rager as a pool party. I mean, the cabanas were filled. Humans were swimming in each other's urine. I mean, there was people everywhere. There was a DJ up in the front. It looked like Vegas when Vegas was at its peak. That was Wuhan, okay? Wuhan is all the way back. After seeing that, I'm very questionable on how they don't have any worries at all because there's some states here in America who haven't had many cases, and they're being told to worry their asses off. So unless they just shut down all planes from anywhere else on Earth into Wuhan, I don't know how but they don't give a damn. Obviously, they're partying, and I'm hoping that happens to us at some point. But you got to remember, old Poots has a vaccine. Old Poots says he has a vaccine. Yale, this was when you were on your honeymoon. Poots came out and said that he has created a vaccine.
I mean,
his daughter's already been inoculated with it.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, so that came out. By the way, that disappeared very quickly.
No human tests.
So. No, well, his daughter already. So his daughter's potentially tested. We have not heard if she has gotten COVID. And then also now this Yale saliva test that's happening. There's a lot of things that are potentially happening here where we don't have to think about next seasons of things going into bubble. So I don't need your negativity. But I don't think the MLB, that's what, next spring?
Yeah.
That is a long time from now. But here we are, 5 months later from the beginning of this thing, and still nobody has a clue on how the hell to fix it or what we can do. So maybe you're right. But I like to think that at some point, somehow, humans will be able to set aside their greed and political differences and decide whether or not we can go back to living our lives as if we are humans, as opposed to what we're currently in. But obviously, it has to be safest for everybody. But you take a little peek-see into Wuhan Google Maps and see what they're doing over there. They are turned up, and I believe that will help me kind of get past the fact of them not having a bubble in the future, hopefully.
Well, they get that vaccine, too. I mean, it's almost as if Wuhan maybe had a vaccine before the whole thing started. But if U.S. gets a vaccine, then all of a sudden, we're good when April comes around.
This guy
just can't help himself. Earlier, he did, 4 stories that had 0 reference points or context for anybody that's listening or watching. Now he's trying to get her taken down.
No.
Do they have a vaccine over there?
I don't know. All I know
they
is
don't Wuhan back. Anything. Everybody's talking about Wuhan back.
Wuhan back. Wuhan back. You lock yourselves down. Wow. Wuhan back. The NFL is back too. Training camps are happening. A lot of Tom Brady talk yesterday in the media. Obviously, the word around Tampa Bay is that Tom Brady looks better than he has ever looked. He did a pre-TB12 and post-TB12 from his rookie season to now. He is shredded. He's in the best shape of his life. He's been taking immunity pills from TB12. He doesn't have a worry in the world. And his words, not mine, for the first time in his 30 years of football experience, he has an offensive head coach, a man who will see the game plan the same way he does, a man who understands that the offensive side of the ball, or doesn't understand, sees it the same way he does, that offense matters more than anything else at this point, a man that wants to see him succeed as opposed to just be on the other side of the ball of their real bread and butter, which is the defense. And if you're listening to any reporters from these practices, they're saying that Tom Brady is throwing 60-yard dimes as if he's back better than ever. The conversation was, will Tom Brady be able to handle and keep up with Bruce Arians' offense? No risk it, no biscuit. He throws the ball deep. He does all that. Tom Brady doesn't do that. He's a master of check down, blah, 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 blah. Well, maybe that's what Josh McDaniels' offense is called for. Ooh. Maybe that's what the New England Patriots offense called for. Maybe Tom Brady last year, whenever he got a chance to open it up, was able to open it up and put the ball in a bucket. And I guess that's what he's doing in practice. And I assume he's enjoying the hell out of this Bruce Arians offense, even though he's definitely getting cussed out, which he did refer to a couple of days ago.
Yeah, it's tough for Brady. Like, those defensive coaches didn't really work out for him. You know, Belichick, they only won 6
He didn't
Super
say
Bowls.
that.
Yeah, for sure.
He didn't say that.
He definitely alluded to the fact that he likes having an offensive coach more, even though he had a ton of success with a defensive coach.
You're
but
just
also,
such an idiot.
I'm not an idiot, but also
You're such an idiot.
Okay, fair enough. But also, the Buccaneers, they are going to be good. Like, anybody who thinks that Brady with Bruce Arians and Godwin and Gronk and Mike Evans, anyone who thinks that the thought that they might go 9-7, or what was their over under for wins? 9.5 on FanDuel.
Yeah,
they're going to win 12.
Hammer that over, by the way.
least.
But how many interceptions did Jameis throw? Was the 30?
30.
Yeah, 30 for 30, baby.
He threw 30 interceptions, and they got hot at the end of the season.
Yeah.
And they were almost like going for a playoff run.
7 games, 1 possession.
Now, Carson Palmer said that the first year in Bruce Arians' offense is tough. You're going to throw a lot of interceptions. Jameis did that. How would he have been next year? By the way, got LASIK after throwing 30 interceptions. Mm-hmm. Smart. Learning from your mistakes.
Very smart.
He keeps doing his training. Now he's with Drew Brees and Sean Payton. And if you look at the author one of one, the Jameis fan club, it's basically saying like he is so thankful to be down there at the Saints to learn there, signed for next to no money, gets a backup role with Drew Brees. What's going to happen with Drew Brees in 1 year? Nobody knows. Is Jameis going to be? All that stuff. But Tom Brady will not throw that many interceptions.
No.
Tom Brady will not throw. Tom Brady knows, okay, big part of football is keeping the ball. If you look at the stats for what determines who wins a game, and you go with the highest percentage of telling you who won the game, aside from the score, obviously. Turnover margin, number one tell. What is the turnover margin? If somebody's +2, I think they're like a 90% chance of winning. If they're +1, I think it's like an 83%. Like the turnover margin, if you can gain another possession and the other humans cannot, that is a massive advantage, especially if you're a good offense. So that doesn't need to be said. Field position is the next one, by the way. It just because there's a lot of reasons. Normally, because of turnovers, you give good field position to the other team. So they kind of go hand in hand. But when I'm kicking and punting, I'm selling that it's all on the kicking and punting team.
Which it is.
Usually it's just strictly determined off the turnovers. So the fact that they were even able to win games with that amount of turnovers is telling you that that team's ready to go. Tom Brady will not do that. And if that entire offense is predicated on what you're seeing and everybody being on the same page, Tom Brady is known for being one of the best picker-uppers of what the hell is happening on the other side of the field that in the history of the game. Him and Peyton are known as the two guys that can decipher a defense quickly and make a decision. I think they are going to be very good. And I think you see Gronk, how good Gronk is going to look. And I think now you got Godwin, you got Evans, you got all these people. I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to be damn good. And that defense with Bowles coming in their second year when they were very young, I think they're in a good spot. We'll talk to Trent Dilfer on the other side of the break about that. Trent Dilfer, obviously, Super Bowl winning quarterback.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
A guy that I hated when he was on television.
Yeah.
And then we talked it out like men do, and we've moved forward. He trained Tua Tagovailoa to the number 5 pick overall to the Dolphins, even after all of his injuries. We talked to him then. He's now a high school football coach down in Nashville. They're taking on the state champs this weekend, I believe.
4-time state champs, I was told.
I mean, will we ask him about that? Definitely, because that's his current gig. But I want to talk to him about Cam Newton, Tom Brady, Phillip Rivers. I want to talk to him about training camp, the injuries, everything in that and more with the guy who's been there, done that in the NFL, Trent Dilfer. This is the Pat McAfee Show. I could see how a guy like Richard Sherman, who's been in the league a long time and has had success, could be like, hold on. This young little isn't going to dap me up. But on the flip side, Baker's like, well, you're enemy number one for me. Because that's how Baker has always operated. And now Richard Sherman says, so you don't see any difference in the way I shake everyone else's hand, and the guy who stands back with the petty shake was BS, and I took offense to it, then turns and runs off. It's not that big of a deal. It swept the nation yesterday. It was controversy like no other controversy in the NFL world. Joining us right now, Richard Sherman. Everything you do and say is going to get talked about. Do you agree?
I would agree.
Baker Mayfield is also a man that everything he does and says is going to get talked about. Do you agree?
I wouldn't agree as much, but sure. So I put my hand out, just out of courtesy. And he gives me a little petty slap on the hand. And I took it as disrespect. People can say, oh my God, he shook your hand. Like, what? Oh my God, you were wrong. You can say whatever you want. I don't give a damn.
Is there anything you'd like to say? Like, hey man, I apologize for the misquote there. I did see on video the dap up, although it was a bit petty. I apologize for everything that happened, or are we just moving forward?
Oh, it's going to be a bit of both. It's definitely my bad. I never want anybody to have to deal with some shit some stuff that they didn't do, And so I'll probably reach out to them via text or social media to actually get a hold of him and talk to him in person. First off, that was a great name y'all came up with, like Dapgate. I was crying laughing. But yeah, he definitely deserves an apology, and that's my bad on that.
Richard, I'll tell you what, bro. To show the humility right there to say, hey, my bad on that entire thing. Once I watched the film back, it was different than what I thought. I think a lot of people are going to have a lot more respect for you. They should at least. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. Hard out on that music there. I mean, let's go ahead and shut it down. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here Tuesday, August 18th. It is fight week down here in Orlando. I am fighting Adam Cole on Saturday at NXT TakeOver 30. Before we get to that, though, there's a lot of football news to be talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, high school football head coach, Super Bowl champion, and QB guru, he loves that, QB guru that got Tua Tagovailoa drafted strictly off of what he taught Tua Tagovailoa. Ladies and gentlemen, Trent Dilfer. Wow, look at that beard, Trent.
I want to be now referred as Ragnar Lothbrok.
I respect it. Congrats, by the way. I don't think I got a chance to chat with you since Tua went number 5 to the Dolphins. And no, I know you won't say take the congratulations, but there was a lot of conversation about him potentially tanking there, and you guys just stayed the course. He's now going to be the quarterback of the future for the Miami Dolphins. Congratulations on that. Let's talk about NFL quarterbacks, and let's talk about the AFC East. There's been a lot of chatter about Cam Newton and Bill Belichick, and I would assume that you have a take on this. Bill Belichick, greatest coach of all time. I think everybody agrees with that. Cam Newton is like a brand new Cam Newton, but there's videos of him dancing in practice yesterday you have never seen come out of Patriots camp. Do you think this is potentially a new Bill Belichick, and how do you feel like this relationship's going to go?
I do. Number one, you just never count Bill out and his staff. I mean, it's not just Bill. It's that entire staff and organization he's built, the program. I think it'll stimulate them. I think all coaches at every level after a period of time grow weary. I don't want to say bored, but weary. And they need to be stimulated. And I think losing Tom Brady, that's never a good thing, but it can stimulate your staff. It can get their creative juices going again. I think Cam, especially as he's rebuilt his body, it gives your staff, your offensive staff, a lot of creative juices. There's a lot of things you can do. There's a lot of young players that can go prove themselves. There's schemes you can implement that they haven't been able to implement before. It's kind of more Saturday football on Sunday. It wouldn't surprise me if during these COVID challenges that staff has been taking a deep dive into Saturday football. The quarterback-driven runs, the zone reads, the triple options. I mean, these are all real things that the NFL community mocked 5, 6, 7 years ago, but you could see the trends going from actually Friday night to Saturdays and now to Sundays. So I would never count that staff out. Now, do I think they're a Super Bowl champion type caliber team? No, I wouldn't go that far.
Okay.
But I think they're a team that can make a deep run as they usually do.
Okay, let's stay with New England Patriots as a talking point. Tom Brady's exit, obviously, from the New England Patriots captivated headlines everywhere because it's greatest player of all time, greatest coach of all time, separating. And for a lot of people thought it was drama reasons. Now, they both put out their statements, obviously, talking about how they have a lot of respect for each other and blah, blah, blah. But after 6 Super Bowls, 20 years, I think they're both excited for a fresh new start somewhere. And if you listen to Joe Montana talk about how Tom Brady, and he had a conversation, which I would assume Tom's not happy that Montana just went ahead and just talked about their private conversation. I don't know your quarterback world, but I'd assume that is one that is not going to be loved there. But now Tom, and he said this yesterday, he said, this is the first time in my 30-year football career, even going back to Pee Wee, high school and everything, that I had a offensive-minded coach. What does that mean with Bruce Arians and Tom? Like, what does that mean for Tom's career? What does that mean for Tom's play? And how much does that help a quarterback if the head coach is on the same page?
And did you see last year, it was talked about a lot with Tom's play. He still played really well, but there seemed to be a burden at times. Yeah. There wasn't quite the same body language at times. There was more discouragement. He seemed more frustrated, especially early in the season. I think a lot of that now goes away. I think excitement, youthful exuberance, that aggressive gene that all quarterbacks have could kind of flourish. I'm not saying it's a match made in heaven, but it definitely, from an emotional standpoint, can take 10 years off, rewind the clock 10 years. I think he's going to have fun. Look, it's this simple. He's read things up his whole career, so low to high. That's just the way that system's built, and it's a really good way of playing. It's how Joe Montana played. It's how Steve Young played. They read everything up, low to high. Now they're going to read everything high to low. So his eyes are going to be aggressive. He's going to have more of an assassin's mentality at the line of scrimmage. Now there's risk involved in that. You may see a more turnover-prone Tom Brady because he's going to take more chances, but you're going to see more explosives too. And I think that can rewind the clock 10 years, let him have a little more fun playing the position. What else more can he accomplish? I know he's enjoying the leadership role there. I've talked to some people that have been down there and kind of watched the operation, and he's taking on kind of the coach's hat as well. So he's coaching all the young guys, becoming a mentor. I think all this stuff for Tom Brady is really, really exciting, and I think you're going to see a more youthful Tom Brady.
Is that why the quarterbacks in that system tend to get killed? Because you're waiting for the play to develop almost, and then you got to read back? Is that something that Tom, with his years of experience and understanding defenses, will that help him in that case, or should we expect to see Tom get killed a little bit?
No, I think it will. Tom's not dumb. We all know that. So I think discretion will win out over aggression. I think he'll have these opportunities. Like every play in this system has a vertical home run opportunity. Every play. There's not one where everybody's going to run in a hitch at 6 yards. There's always some kind of matchup. There's always a vertical. There's always a, hey, if you see this, they make the mistake, take a shot. I think Tom's pre-snap game and even the first second after the ball snapped, his eyes will be looking for that. But about a second and a half into the play, he's going to realize, hey, now's not the time. Let's use discretion. And now his full field reading ability, his feel for the game, you'll still see him get the ball a lot check the ball down off a lot, throw the intermediate stuff, the piercing throws. I just think you'll see more big chunk type plays over the course of 16 weeks.
So when he had Randy.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it was awesome. Obviously, they broke a lot of records, but it was cool to watch Tom kind of throw the deep ball. And when he got Randy, I mean, getting mossed is still something that is used to this day because of, who Randy is. And he's even on ESPN Monday Night Football Countdown in a full suit, and a punt goes up and he's ready. I mean, Randy is always tracking the ball, but now he's got a guy in Mike Evans who can go and get it, right? And Godwin that can go and get it. And the reports out of training camp are that he's throwing 60-yard dimes. The conversation whenever he was going to the Bruce Arians offense wasn't only like, hey, he's going to get killed, he's going to get hit, but Tom's too old to throw the ball that far. I talked to Clyde Christensen, I believe a man that you know rather well. Do you know Clyde pretty well? I talked to Clyde.
One of my best friends. Yep.
Clyde is the man. So when I had Clyde on the show, quarterback coach, he was Peyton's coach, he was Luck's coach. He's been an incredible quarterback coach.
Well, he broke in with me, so he learned all the wrong ways. So literally, he'll tell you this. I learned all the mistakes not to make with Peyton because he left me as my quarterback coach and went and coached Peyton.
Okay, so he's got Trent Dilfer, he's got Peyton Manning, he's got Andrew Luck, he's got Hasselbeck a little bit, but he is tied to a lot of great quarterbacks. And I asked him on the show, I was like, hey, people are saying that Tom's arm isn't what it used to be. And he goes, right. Well, when watching film, right, we saw nothing that would say that. If you watch, thank you. Right. So he said if we watch film, none of the film that we watch indicated that Tom has lost any, but there wasn't as many opportunities, which I think people would judge him for. Do you think Tom at that age? I mean, he's a little bit older, obviously. Now, TB12 treatment, I think, kind of younger. It makes you younger, and it makes you immune and everything like that. It makes you attractive, I think, and all that stuff, whatever it does. But
you must be doing it.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, but who, me? Say it. Did you say me?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, I got a big cheat day coming on Sunday. Don't you worry about that. I will be fat again. But do you think the age and the arm strength is something that they should worry about or Tom's worried about? Because last year there was a couple chances for him to thread the needle at like 20, 30 yards, and they were on an absolute rope. Is that just a false narrative that people are putting out there just because they want to believe that Tom's going to stink?
Total false narrative. His mechanics are so tight. He maximizes every bit of juice in his body. He still has a top 10, 12 arm in the NFL. The biggest thing, too, the analogy I'd give is Phil Mickelson as a golfer. He's 51, I think, and he's added 10 miles per hour to his club head.
Hitting bombs.
Bombs. I mean, that's all he cares about. He doesn't even care about shooting 65 anymore. He just wants to hit it further than everybody else. But through proper mechanics, there's been so much science over the past 10 years on how to get the body to move better and more efficiently. Just imagine how much further you would have punted it if you knew all this stuff. It's amazing how these old guys are hitting bombs on the golf course. It's the same thing with quarterback play. If you can maximize everything in your body, you're not going to lose any velocity whatsoever or power in terms of distance. It would not surprise me at all if he's throwing multiple 55-yard passes in the air a game.
Okay, so let's talk about another older quarterback. It came out that the coach chose Phillip Rivers over Tom Brady. Now, Chris Ballard wouldn't confirm that to me when I talked to him on draft night, but I said there's reports that Tom Brady was interested in playing for the Colts, and you guys obviously want Phil Rivers, so you picked Phil Rivers over Tom Brady. And he said, I will not confirm nor deny that report, is what Chris Ballard said. So that seems like a potential. We heard that there was potential interest, but we went with our guy because he knows the system. Phillip Rivers, though, is going to an Indianapolis Colts team in a loaded AFC. I mean, we just talked about the Patriots are always going to be good. And then, obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs, I don't know how they're getting this money in the salary cap. They're keeping all the horses together somehow. And they got Patrick Mahomes, who's unbelievable. But the Colts last year, before Jacoby got hurt, were a team that was ready to go. The defense is great. The offensive line is good. I think they need to still bring in another weapon to help T.Y. Hilton, but they got a loaded backfield. Phillip Rivers, is his arm going to be able to last for an entire season if they're to make a Super Bowl run here? And is he a guy that, just like you said about Tom, almost has gotten better with age?
Well, I was a skeptic, actually, and I've been Phillip's biggest fan his whole career, but I was a skeptic, and I was talking to Frank Wright, and he challenged me to go back and watch big boy throws through last season, because the narrative around Phillip Rivers is that his arm has gone down, he can't push the ball down the field, he looks old and decrepit, and Frank just challenged me. He said, watch the tape. Here's some clips to go watch, here's some games, here's some cut-ups, and I went and watched them. And he had as many deep ball completions as anybody in the National Football League. I mean, he's still pushing the ball down the field. It looks different, and I can see why people say it, but he still has the ability to push the ball down the field. And I think this is a great example, too, of kind of an organization, how they built the offense, how they built the offensive line. They know that they can support an older quarterback with that offensive line, with the loaded backfield, with all those different things that can really maximize what he has left in the tank. And again, if you're getting stops because you have a good defense and you're controlling the clock because you have a big offensive line and you have multiple runners, the quarterback then capitalizes on the few opportunities he has downfield. He doesn't have to throw it 40 times a game. He doesn't have to take 12 hits a game. And then Philip Rivers, and you get in a jam, you're down 7 points, you're down 10 points. He has the ability to put the pedal to the pedal to the metal and get you points and get you back in the game.
You're going to say foot on the throat and get back into
that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I think maybe
I have to be very, very careful these days.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think a kid maybe walked into your office in the middle of that. Are you?
You know what? An old kid did. This is a surprise for you. Phil Dawson.
Legend! Texas legend! Phil, what's going on? He could probably still kick a kickoff out of the back of the end zone if I had to guess. Is that accurate, Trent?
No doubt. In fact,
a good wind at my back.
Oh, Phil, you are the man. Living legend Phil Dawson, by the way. Kicked for the Browns, kicked for the Niners, kicked for the Cardinals, and was somehow at the age of 70 still kicking off. It was that guy, unbelievable to watch.
You should see him with our kickers. He's out there every night kicking balls, even with his broken hip and all that stuff. He still thinks he's got it.
Let's talk. You got a big game this weekend. Are you guys? Is he on your coaching staff? You guys got a big.
He is special teams coordinator, doing an incredible job with the kids, doing an incredible job with the team.
Let me tell you, the first time we met as teammates, opening drive of what season was it? 05.
Phil, move your head into the camera, Phil. There we go.
They stall out on offense. Trent's all upset. He's coming off the field. I'm running on for a field goal. He's like, "You better make this kick." I said, "If you had done your job, I wouldn't be out here."
That's literally what he jogged on the field. Phil only played I think 37 years in the NFL or something like that. Absolute legend of a man.
Don't cut him out for still playing. He might be the only dual high school football coach, NFL kicker. If we're not careful.
How's the team? Are you enjoying this coaching? I mean, we're obviously in a COVID world right now. There has to be a lot of stuff you got going on.
A lot of challenges. I don't know where to start. I want to eat up your whole show. It's been a thrill of a lifetime. I feel like I was called to do it. I have these two signs on my wall. One says, "Do hard things." One says, "At the edge of uncomfortable is where you find greatness."
Oh.
And, boy, I'm having to live that because I'm having to do hard things and I'm very uncomfortable. You really have to – it's almost like a parent. Every decision you make really doesn't have to do with you. It has to do with the kids, and now you have 100+ of them. And then you add COVID into the mix, and who do you trust, right? What are you listening to? Obviously, player, parent, grandparent, safety, community safety is number one, but mental health's a big part of it too.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to balance, I really trusted the governor. I've trusted our headmaster. I've trusted our AD. I've trusted the data we've been able to capture from a lot of different areas. But just being around them, just taking the parent hat on and saying, what do these kids need the most? And they really need an outlet. They really need something bigger than themselves. They need community. I've hated this term. Since day one, I hated this social distancing term. Physical distancing, yes, absolutely. If that's what the experts are telling us to do, let's physically distance. But socially, these kids need social interaction. Yeah. They need connection. They need tribe. They need community, whatever you want to package it as. And football gives them that. There's also something that hasn't been talked a lot about. We have a lot of really good football players that are going to get their secondary education paid for if they play football. You don't play football in a lot of distressed communities around the country and even affluent communities, and these kids are not going to have the chance to get their secondary education paid for. So we probably have 11 scholarship players on our team right now, maybe more if you count our sophomore class. These kids need the opportunity to get their college paid for. Their mental health is at stake. And we have done everything. And it's been an honor doing it, but it's been exhausting. The amount of money we put in for safety protocols, the thought leadership in our institution around safety protocols. The kids have really taken upon themselves to own it. They don't all, they're kids, so you kind of have to be on them all the time, but they get it. They get that protecting the tribe, protecting their school, protecting their families, there's some sacrifice there on what they're doing when they're not with us. And here's the other thing. When they're not with us, they're probably doing something more dangerous than when they are with us. And that's the number one conversation here when it comes to football in general. We can protect them more than when they're not under our care. And that goes for high school, that goes for college, that goes for the NFL. They are going to be safer in our environment, and their families will be safer in our environment than if we just let them go scatter.
How many, by the way, I feel like I was just in a team meeting right there. You said this is your calling. I think it's potentially your best asset. That was an incredible speech right there, but you're obviously watching. Incredible, by the way. That was really awesome to hear you say that. But you're watching this college football conversation happen right now, I would assume, and you're now in the high school football world. You have a game this weekend. Is this your first game this weekend?
First game Friday night, yeah.
Is there good luck? Obviously, we're pulling for 11 scholarship kids. I mean, you guys are ready to go. But not counting the sophomore class, there's probably 5 more in there. Let alone if Phil Dawson's with the kickers, there's probably 2 more on there. But let's keep it going up there. But have you watched the college football thing unfold at all, or have you been so busy? It seems like now Herb Street was on yesterday, and Herbie, he's in the same city as you right now. Herbie knows everybody, right? So when Herbie's saying something, and he said something on our show yesterday, I understand that Herbie's opinion is coming from all the information that he has from everybody. And he's saying it feels like this is just a delay, and inevitability, a cancellation is going to come for everybody, even though the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12 says they're going to keep going. You're doing this high school football thing with 100 and some kids, which is the same size as a lot of college rosters. Would it be possible, you think, to do the college football, or do you think that with the way things are going in the college world that you also, there's no chance of it popping off?
Pat, I made this mistake when I was on TV. That's probably why you hated me so much. There were times I would talk about things I didn't know.
Oh, like kicking and punting. Is Phil still in there? Yeah.
Well, he gave me all those bad things to say about it.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
No.
I don't know. They have challenges that are so far greater than mine, and mainly it comes with crossing state borders. Mainly, that's the big element that we don't have to deal with in the high school space. They also have institutions where they're going back into classrooms or on campuses with 20, 30, 40, 50,000 kids. It's a different age group, right? They can drink, they can go out, and they can go to bars, they can have social lives that are a little more dynamic than a dorky little 16-year-old boy, right? That's playing, when he leaves us, he's playing, what's the video game they all play?
Fortnite, I believe, Call of Duty.
Thank you.
Dungeons and Dragons.
So that's about as much trouble as our kids are going to get into, is staying up too late playing Call of Duty. So there's just different challenges, and I don't want to pretend to know what's going on in those athletic director meetings and board meetings and president meetings and all that stuff. I do know this, though, that if they lose it, there's going to be a tremendous fallout with the mental health capacity. There's going to be an issue. There's going to be a major fallout with home issues. There's going to be a lot of auxiliary or shrapnel, let's call it. There's going to be a lot of shrapnel that happens if there's not football. The goodness of football is the topic that I think has been lost here. And I think you get it. I think the football community gets it. Anybody that's played it gets it. Unfortunately, a lot of the decision makers don't get it. They don't get that there's football, the game we play, the game we love, the economic impact that it has. And unfortunately, that becomes the focus. When really the greatest thing about football, and every high school player that's watching your show, and I know there's millions, is going to go, yes, is the goodness of football. The goodness of football does more for a young football player's life than maybe any other influence in their academic track. And it sometimes has nothing to do with what happens between the lines. They learn lessons that they wouldn't learn in other arenas. They learn lessons they don't learn in the classroom. They learn figure-it-outness. They learn critical thinking. They learn grit. They learn all these things that, what makes them? Makes them super uber successful like you and CEOs and fire chiefs and lawyers and whatever it is. That's why ex-football players go and dominate the world, because they've learned these lessons, hard things, being uncomfortable, overcoming adversity, learning to love and be part of something bigger than yourself, learning to integrate with people that grew up different than you. What a novel thought.
That's a big one.
That there's a sport that could bring people from different social, economic, ethnic, whatever backgrounds together and say, we are exactly the same. And we have the exact same purpose in mind, and we're all trying to do this together. I mean, I really think our world needs a dose of a week of football. Like the whole world just needs a dose of Bill Belichick coaching you. What if Bill got to coach the world for 1 week? I bet you the world would be a better place. So that's the topic that hurts me here, is that global conversation, the goodness of football, hasn't been at the forefront, and we're trying to keep it at the forefront here.
Trent, these are two speeches. You're in this head coach role right now. That is two speeches that got people ready to run through a wall here. I do believe, like, I was a soccer player growing up, which is its own culture, its own environment. I played other sports, but once I got in that football locker room, it was just a different world. It really was just a completely different place, because you got humans of all builds, all makes, all sizes, all with one goal coming together, and then those workouts are a nightmare, and everybody gets through it, brutal, and everybody gets through it together. I mean, that type of thing, by the way, and when you said it's people that haven't played football that are making these decisions, it's also sometimes, and I don't want to ever, generalize here, there's a war on football like 4 or 5 years ago. Right?
Yeah.
And the people that were having that war on football were a lot of the academic people, a lot of super science people, doctor people, because there's obviously inherent risk when it comes to football. I mean, that's something that happens, but good outweighs the bad in a lot of cases, especially in football by a large mean. But those people are not making the decision on whether or not football happens. It's like, well, they kind of got us by the gut sack.
You got it.
Diggs, what do you got?
You got it.
Hey,
oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I just have one question for you, Pat, before we end. And I can go as long as you want. I just want to hijack your show, but go ahead.
No, Trent, by the way, Tuesday, there's not really much to talk about. We let off with a guy getting yelled at for hitting a grand slam last night. I mean, there's not much.
That's why you have me on a Tuesday. Let me be your Tuesday filler guy.
Hey, Tuesday, Trent, here we go. What do you got, Diggs? What do you got?
Trent, I wanted to ask you if you've stayed in contact with Tua after the draft, and what kind of situation is he going into with Ryan Fitzpatrick in his quarterback room to lead him?
Yeah, I really don't. I've always made it a point with my relationship with whether it's an Elite 11 guy, a college guy, because I hated it when I was playing, when all like the people from your past were talking to you all the time and checking in on you. So we've texted a few times, we DM every once in a while. I talk to his parents off and on. Every sign has been good. He's been excited. I went black.
No, you're good over here. You're good over here.
Right, yeah, my screen went black. All signs are good. He's been excited. He's been excited about the opportunity. Ryan is the ultimate pro. I like Ryan. I think Ryan's the ultimate guy to have in the locker room. And I tried to be this at the end, especially with Alex Smith, where you're helping. You're giving him all the information you have from your years of experience. But you're not handing it over on a silver platter and saying, "Oh, it's yours to have. Take my job." It's no. I'm going to help you be the best you can be, but come get me. Like, I'm going to go out to practice every single day. I'm going to attack every meeting. I'm going to attack every weight session. I'm going to attack every team leadership opportunity as if I'm the dude. And if you can see how that's done and you have your own way of doing it, great, do it. We don't need to be competitive with the leadership thing, but let's compete every day on who can be the best guy on the field, the best guy in the locker room, the best guy in the weight room. And I think Ryan will give to that. And he'll need that push because he pretty quickly won the job at Alabama. Although Jalen was a great player, and I think Jalen's going to be a pretty good pro, Tua kind of became the dude pretty soon. He may not be the dude in the locker room right away, and that's going to be good for him. I think that'll be a really healthy experience for him.
Ryan Fitzpatrick has been there, done that with every organization too. So every tip, he'd be like, "Hey, at this place, this happened. That'd be awesome." And by the way, Fitzpatrick, great golfer. We saw him at the golf event. We went to a golf event with him down in Atlanta. He hits the hell out of the golf ball, let alone his mind of a Harvard man and his heart of a
plumber.
That guy would run his face into anything if he had to do it. Not a bad guy to learn from.
And a great beard. Not quite the Ragnar Lothbrok that I got going on, but a great beer.
You're proud of that thing, huh? Yeah, you are.
This has really been my project.
You should be proud.
I can grow it on my face and my back, nowhere else. So I got to choose one to groom, and I'm not going to groom the back.
I'm sure the back looks fantastic. You brought up Alex Smith right there. Before we let you go, and we can't thank you enough for all the time you spent here. This is a long time that you've taken out of your day here, especially with the big game this weekend. I appreciate you doing this. Alex Smith. Now, we all watched the video of him coming out of his house and in practice and everything, and then we've heard the story. Damn near dead, this guy. 17 surgeries, damn near dead. He came out and said that if I wasn't to make my return or come back and do that, how could I look my kids in the eye and tell them that they should stick to something? This has been an incredible story. For those that know Alex Smith, what are your thoughts on this? Because I've never met the guy. I've just seen it from afar. But what an absolute legend Alex Smith is for this mental toughness to get back here. I'm not sure he'll ever be back on a football field ever again, but the fact that he ever got cleared is just absolutely insane because we've all been through rehab and it's a pain in the ass. I couldn't even fathom what he's had to go through.
Have you read Angela Duckworth's book on grit?
Just quick. I've never read a book before in my life.
Okay.
I should
get it on audio.
Okay.
And do it while you're on your Stairmaster because I know you're a big Stairmaster guy.
Hey, you see these quads? You see these quads?
That's all Stairmaster. I'm more of a Peloton guy.
Oh, you and Hasselbeck on
you're
that
a big
thing.
Stairmaster guy. And by the way, before I answer the Alex Smith question, really, honestly, good luck this weekend on the wrestling thing.
Thank you.
That's a good deal, man. That's cool.
Thank you.
I couldn't get over the ropes. I wouldn't know how to get in the ring. I would not be able to get in. They'd have to forklift me in to get me in the arena. If she ever does a what do they call that when they do another cycle of the book, reprint or whatever, he should be the cover. I mean, because you start studying grit, and really she's the one that made it a mainstream conversation. It's the combination of passion and perseverance for a long-term goal. And it drives you in a way that most people can't understand. It's really the number one differentiator in high performers. And Alex, I was with him his second and third years in the NFL, you could see it then. There was he's made differently. There's something inside of him. It's like the Brady. It's like the Manning. It's like the Breeze. There's just something that was birthed into them that's different than everybody else. I tried to be a tough guy in the NFL, and I had a lot of tough experiences. And then I realized really quick, no, this is a real tough guy. This is a real tough guy. This is a guy that has something that drives him that maybe I can't put my finger on. And so this really doesn't surprise me. But I think the long-term goal for him isn't necessarily the football. It's what you touched on. He's adamant about being a great husband. He's adamant about being a great father. He's adamant about changing the world. He has a real global perspective. And I think his long-term goal that he's passionate about is being an example for others. And I think he didn't have a choice. He didn't have a choice when he was going through each one of those surgeries because he would wake up each morning and say, I got to get through this because people are watching this unfold. And if I quit at any point, that's going to give somebody else the excuse to quit. So I'm super proud of Alex, as everybody else should be. But honestly, it doesn't surprise me after spending 2 years with him.
Man, that's 3 speeches now you've given. Ladies and gentlemen, head coach of a high school what's the name of the high school?
It's called Lipscomb Academy. It's in Nashville.
All right. Well, good luck to the Lipscomb Academy. What's the mascot?
We're the Mustangs, baby.
Hey, we're all Mustangs here. We're
all Mustangs.
Hey,
I'll tell you what. We're going to send you off some swag stuff, okay? If you'll wear it on the show, we'll send you some cool Jordan hoodies.
You got it.
And they're purple.
Do you want a tank top? I know you're bad. We're going to have tank top Tuesdays here, so do you want me to kind of order some tanks?
Please, tank tops, sleeveless hoodies, anything.
Oh, I got sleeveless hoodies with the Mustang. I'm going muscle shirts now. I hired Grant Williams. Remember Grant? Played for the Patriots, Seahawks, Rams, right tackle.
I know the name, yeah.
Played 9 years. He's my offensive line coach. He is a muscle shirt, no shoes coach. Every day at practice, Pat McAfee muscle shirt, big old nasty 45-year-old sagging guns, size 15 feet, no shoes, all nasty toes and grass stains and all that stuff. That's how we roll around here. So we'll get you some swag. If you'll wear it, we'll send it off.
I can't wait. I can't wait to watch the Lipscomb Academy Mustangs take over Nashville and Tennessee football. Ladies and gentlemen, their head coach, Super Bowl champion Trent Dilfer. Thank you, Trent.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
All right, we have to get to a break. That was incredible. That guy is awesome. I hated him before I talked to him, and I love that man. I'm a big fan. We're all Mustangs here.
Oh, yeah, we're all Mustangs here, baby.
Plum High School Mustang. We did not have 11 guys with scholarship opportunities.
No,
and I assume their school looks a lot different than ours.
Yeah,
and I would assume their teachers are a little bit different degree than ours.
Coaching staff probably a little different
a little
as well.
bit different. But hey, we're all Mustangs here. This is the Pat McAfee Show, Tuesday, August 18th. We're back to wrap up the show. And then AJ Hawk joins us at noon. Thanks for listening.
Hey, how you doing?
Look at that chain on Z. Look at that chain.
Small businesses have unique needs, and despite the current uncertainty with things that remain unchanged and the importance of having the right people on your team, when your business is ready to make the next hire, LinkedIn Jobs can help by matching your role with qualified candidates so that you can find the right person quickly.
Hell yeah!
Hell yeah! LinkedIn is an active community of professionals with more than 690 million members worldwide. Right. LinkedIn Jobs candidates with the hard and soft skills you're looking for. Nope, they don't have soft skills anymore.
They used to, though.
Yeah.
And they will check for them.
They will check for them.
Yeah.
I'm going to call to action real quick.
Please do.
When your business is ready to make the next hire, find the right person with LinkedIn Jobs. You can pay what you want and get the first $50 off. Whoa. Just visit LinkedIn.com/Pat. Again, that's LinkedIn.com/Pat and get $50 off your first job post. Term and conditions may apply.
Great Z, great read, great chain. Chase McLaughlin and Rodrigo Blankenship, the two kickers that are aiming for the Colts kicking job, both went 3 for 3 in the first kicking session with a long of 49 yards for both. Much different than the Chicago Bears kicking situation. Hot Rod and Chase McLaughlin are getting after it. Now, with the story of the week brought to you by Granger, our friend Diggs.
As you get back to business, Granger is there to help. With supplies and solutions for every industry, safety recovery guides, 24/7 support, and more, visit Granger.com/recovery.
That was like your phone voice.
Yeah, wow.
You want to like your phone voice.
Well,
Very good. You're looking at your phone, I guess. All right, what is the story of the week, Diggs?
College football.
Okay.
Are they back? Are they not? Did the Big Ten vote? The SEC schedule was released. Who knows? College football. Granger, story of the week.
You're damn right. And we are wrapping up hour 2 here of radio in about 8 seconds. We have AJ Hawk joining us on the other side of youtube.com/The Pat McAfee Show. We will see you tomorrow. This is Fight Week from Orlando. All right. At 8-second send off there for radio. That's real professional.
Well done.
Great send off.
You know what I mean? That's real
Squeezed
professional
everything
shit.
in there, too.
And then there's another show coming on that is probably so much more professional and produced immediately after we get done talking. It's like, all right, today in the A block, in the B block, in the C block, in the D block. And for them, I apologize for the disrespectful toss into your show, but I would like to let you know that we don't know what the fuck we're doing over here. Not a bad Tuesday, August 18th. We need to talk about college football. We'll wait for AJ to join us because the Big Ten did not have a vote. A lot of words are coming out of that president's meeting that happened just last week where they decided to cancel or postpone the Big Ten season until the spring. They said there was no vote had there. So nobody was able to say, like, yeah, we want a season this fall. No, we don't want a season this fall. It was just a overwhelming understanding or something like that.
Yeah.
And I believe that happened because if you have a vote and you have people against it, okay, if it's 12-2, for instance, like Iowa and Nebraska voted against it. Now everybody's like, okay, so Iowa and Nebraska are ready to go play football, and it caused a bunch of drama. So what the Big Ten said is we are not voting. I don't want to hear who's against it, but if we get a majority of thought in here that we're postponing it, we'll postpone it, which could leave some people obviously a bit pissed off that their voices were not able to be heard in a classic democratic society of voting. But the Big Ten and Kevin Warren decided to do that, I'd assume, so that there'd be no conversations about breaching of the contract, and nobody would know exactly who to target to try to get in the ACC or the SEC, because that Iowa-Nebraska 12-2 vote that allegedly got out last week caused quite a stir in the sports media world because everybody's like, well, Iowa and Nebraska are going to go play football somewhere else then. Yeah. So the Big Ten was like, let's learn from that. Let's not even have a vote, but we all understand this is what's going on down there.
Think about the soapbox that Iowa and Nebraska are going to be on now, like, because they did say that they do want to play football in, say, November, if things are working out for the SEC and Big 12 and ACC, and they said let's play football.
Did they say November?
No, I was just thinking, like, if
because that's election.
We get to November.
I mean, that is something you really fucking, because if Iowa, Nebraska, and other schools are like, well, let's just wait till November 5th or whatever the hell it is and see what happens. That would be a hilarious, very real statement by them. So that's why I thought you said that they said.
No,
it.
I was just saying, like,
I was about
if
to
it starts
in full swing.
Say we're like 8 weeks into the season and everything's going fine, and the Big Ten's just sitting there holding their dicks.
Jeez,
we're on YouTube, right?
Yeah, we are on YouTube, but. I mean, Big Ten has a large majority of the presidents, I believe, are actually females.
What?
Yeah.
It's true.
Oh, you're saying it's just a
metaphorical dick
for like Eminem whenever he rapped.
Yeah,
just kind of hanging out there. Joining us now to talk more about this Big Ten deciding not to have a vote because they didn't want potential teams and colleges to get plucked to other conferences that will decide to play football. Big Ten legend.
Oh, yeah.
Ohio State legend.
Oh, yeah.
National champ, Super Bowl champ, great jawline, and a man who is going to accompany me back into the NXT arena tomorrow night. And also, by the way, Darius Butler will be joining me as well.
What?
Yeah, I'm going in there. And Dumb Nick said he'd come in there, too. So I'm going in there with a crew, obviously. Ladies and gentlemen, A.J. Hawk. What up, A.J.?
What's up, guys? How's it going? How's day 2?
Oh, you taking a shit back there? I mean, do you even have it sounds like you were in a toilet.
What's it sound like now?
It sounds like you're in a
your
bubble.
microphone isn't even on.
Yeah, you're going through your computer, it sounds like, not the actual microphone.
Oh, no, AJ. You hate this, too. You hate when people have bad microphones. This is like one of your biggest pet peeves.
This never happened to Greeny.
You're right.
Oh, no,
Jesus.
Zito. What's going on over there, Zito?
Are you in a wind tunnel?
I mean, what are you doing over there?
He's gonna be so angry.
Hey, he fucking hates the bad microphone thing. Whenever when the quarantine started, and there was like ESPN and Fox and CBS, everybody was doing those shows, and for the first month, they wouldn't get them microphones. I would assume they thought they were coming back in the studio. These guys, they were just talking on television into their cell phones or whatever. I'd get a video recording from AJ and send it to me. He's like, how are they fucking letting this on? He hates the bad air, so he's not going to like that. But I'm intrigued to hear his thoughts on this because Ohio State, their fans are the biggest in the Big Ten.
By far.
The loudest in the Big Ten, and for good reason. They feel as if the Big Ten is theirs. For good reason.
It is.
And they've been going after old Kevin Warren pretty hard. And if they didn't have a vote, and now the Ohio State fans are like, oh, so you just fucking forced this decision down our throat, it's only going to get worse and worse. But I can see why the Big Ten potentially thought that they shouldn't have a vote because of the conversation that could start around it with the teams that didn't vote to do that. AJ, how's it going?
Sound now.
Oh,
there it is.
Hey, welcome back.
Welcome back, AJ. Great to hear you. You sound good. You sound very, very professional.
Good. That was my fault, not Zito's fault. For anyone, I didn't have the settings switched over. I thought I did. So Zito, my bad.
Well, Zito's got a new chain on. You can't tell him nothing, anyways.
Hey, what are you talking about?
Never been wrong in that chain.
He looks unbelievable. Zito Productions got us off the air, so I appreciate you saying to Zito. Look at him. Oh,
Hey,
Zito.
what are you talking about?
Look at that
Where's
chain,
the
AJ. AJ, you see
Hey,
that
what are you talking
chain?
about? I got the chain.
Did you see that chain on
I
him?
see that. How can I not see that chain? He unbuttoned that top button for it.
Yeah. Well, top 3 buttons, I believe. Top 1. Zito, that thing is gorgeous. You got that down here in Florida?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to say how much I paid for it, but it was a hefty price.
Zeke De Niro.
Yeah, anyways, let's talk about the Big Ten. Zito, I appreciate you putting this together.
Anytime.
Great that you have a microphone. You don't sound terrible like a lot of mainstream networks did at the beginning of the quarantine that you couldn't stand. Let's talk about the Big Ten. It coming out that there was no formal vote in that meeting last week that decided to postpone the football season in all fall sports to the spring in the Big Ten. Now, the Ohio State fans obviously went apeshit for this entire thing. A lot of coaches came out and said, we are still going to practice and try to get something done. There's a lot of conversation. Scott Frost said, we'll do this. Iowa said this. And now that it's coming out that there wasn't a vote, I see why the Big Ten potentially did that. They said it was a deliberative process where we came to a decision together. It's like, okay, did you come to anything together in the world of 2020? Probably not. I would assume there's a lot of people that didn't have their voices heard and I feel like they didn't have their voices heard. Big Ten didn't want there to potentially be outliers like Nebraska and Iowa were whenever that 12-2 vote allegedly happened because they don't want people to potentially get plucked. But all it does now is probably piss off these Ohio State fans even more. Like, oh, you didn't even want a vote to be had because we could potentially play games. Who's making the decisions around here? It almost stirred the pot even more, I think, learning that there wasn't an actual vote, AJ.
Of course it did. Why? Not just Ohio State people, everybody around the country and Big Ten fans are super upset about this. I don't know if you saw, but Sean Wade, a great player for Ohio State, his dad posted his flight from Orlando to Chicago. Like he's flying to try to talk to Kevin Warren in person and get an answer on what's going on. Like I think that's great. We're seeing people really start to take some action. They just want some answers, man. Like it can't be one person making the call. If you have these presidents, why not take a vote? And then now all of a sudden, what's with the confusion? Like, were they not supposed to say that? Were they supposed to say, oh, yeah, we had a vote. It was unanimous. We're all good. We all agree?
Yeah, I don't know. In the weird thing is there's so many contradicting elements to this entire thing. Pitt, because they're in the ACC, they can play. Penn State can't. Same exact state. Same exact. Now, counties are a little bit different, but the state is still under the same mandate. Same thing for other states that have a Big Ten school and another school. I mean, there's a lot of conversation pieces to be had. Now we learn that there isn't a vote. And I think the biggest thing is we talked to Wetzel the Pretzel. You ever met Dan Wetzel the Pretzel? You ever met Dan Wetzel the Pretzel?
just through FaceTime on the show.
Yeah, so Dan Wetzel, the pretzel. Oh, you fell asleep while he was talking.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
He
you
put
might have
you in a pretzel.
Yeah, you might have missed this actually, but because you were sleeping. But he went on this entire rant about how the beautiful thing of college football is that it's run by so many different people. There's commissioners, there's ADs, there's coaches. He's like the chaos of college football with the different everything is almost like the beauty of it. But then when it comes to a situation like this, where you need one person to potentially answer the questions on if we play, if we don't play, if we postpone, if we don't postpone for all 5 power conferences, as opposed to everybody acting as individual entities almost. He said that this is where a Roger Goodell type figure could be good for college football, even though they'll never have it. And you thought Mark Emmert might be that, but it turns out that guy ain't worth a single fuck. His opinion doesn't mean a single thing we've learned through this whole process. Because, by the way, he has not talked or meant anything to any of these conversations, the head of the NCAA. So when you say whenever only one person makes a decision, and that's just kind of how it goes with it, I think that could be good if it was for all 5 conferences. But now that each individual conference is like, okay, if the person that is going to decide that this is the driver of the conversation, which is the foreman of the jury, I believe is normally that person, if we take it to a court, like that person drives the conversation. If that person is steadfast against football happening in said conference, they're probably going to be able to generate enough conversation that it could be a deliberate process of like, hey, we overall decided to do this. And if in another conference, the person that's the foreman or the head person of the conversation, they want football to happen, they could probably generate a conversation. So it's going to get ugly. I mean, this is going to get very, very weird before it gets cleaned up. But Herb Street, who knows everybody in this world, he seems to believe this got no fucking shot anyway, so we're wasting time even talking about it.
So Kirk says that nobody in college football is going to play, right? ACC, SEC, they're all going to have to pack it in?
He says he feels as if. He didn't say, like, and by the way, this is much different than his March conversation with us where he came out and said he doesn't think. He basically alluded to the fact, like, the things he's hearing and the things he's seeing, he just doesn't see how anybody's going to be able to do it, especially if the overall number is, like, the number of cases, because he thinks colleges, especially with the pictures that we're seeing from Alabama and North Georgia and all these, I mean, the amount of COVID that's going to run through universities is going to be through the roof. So, and then the contact tracing on who has to sit out, he's basically implying that from what he's heard with what the rules are going to be, there's no way they're going to be able to fucking field a team someday. They're going to have like their 5th stringers potentially, because if one guy's hanging out in a roommate with 4 other guys and one guy who's potentially not high up on the team gets it, those other 4 guys are locked down for 2 weeks. If that's your starter, like, he just thinks with the way things are fucking looking, there's going to be no chance. It's inevitable it's going to be delayed. So it's not like he said he knows it's going to be delayed. He just thinks with the way shit's going, it's going to be delayed. So this no vote thing is inevitably not even going to matter. But it does. It's Kevin Warren just throwing out another fucking grenade almost to kill his quick legacy here as being a commissioner.
Well, it does matter for future things like this that happen. And I'm not saying like future pandemics that come up, but there's big time decisions that have to be made with the NCAA, with all the commissioners from the different leagues. And for Kevin Warren, if he just kind of – the fact that, like, there was so much confusion of it where these – like, I don't know if the ADs are worried that they don't want to put it out there publicly, that there wasn't a vote, like technically there wasn't an official vote where they all went in and decided to say yes or no, or they're just that confused. Like, well, you know, it sounds like to me at least and again, I don't know anything. Nobody that wasn't in the room doesn't know, but it sounds like Kevin Warren came in like with an agenda. Hey, this is so difficult. We have this heart issue now that's popping up. We want to take care of our players. We don't want to get sued down the road. That's a huge part of it. We all know that. I understand that. They want to take care of these kids that are student athletes, that they only call them students right now.
Students.
And it sounds like from the jump, Kevin Warren was kind of on that bandwagon, and he just ran with it. And it was probably kind of tough to have a view other than that. If you were fighting for football, I'm guessing you got shot down pretty quickly.
It seems like, and AJ, based on the tweets that I was reading earlier, like it seems like the ADs weren't even involved.
Yeah, it's presidents only.
Yeah, it's only presidents.
My bad.
Yeah.
But then why did Gene Smith, Ohio State's AD, come out like right away and say Ohio State's planning to play in the spring? We're not going to go out to another conference.
Who's the president of Ohio State?
She's new. I forget her name now.
I would assume her and Kevin Warren probably pretty tight because they're both doing their gig, probably looking out for each other. I would assume the president called the athletic director and said, hey, there's a lot of rumors going on. Kevin Warren just called me about Ohio State potentially leaving. Is there any way we can nip this in the bud? I would assume that Gene Smith didn't do that alone. I would assume that Gene Smith, being an athletic director, a good one, a man that is going to potentially try to explore all opportunities to make money for your university and put your sports in the best position they possibly be. I assume he was going to wait to see what happened. I would assume that somebody top down came in and was like, hey, is there any way we could potentially put out the flame of you guys potentially leaving the Big Ten? Because we're going to get real fucking strong with Nebraska. We're going to tell them, like, you leave, you go ahead and get the fuck out. We can't do that with you guys. So is there any way you could potentially just say this isn't going to happen? I would assume there's people knocking on Gene Smith's door telling him he has to say something like that.
Probably should have told Justin Fields that too before he started that petition, but they forgot about it.
By the way, they probably did. Ryan Day probably said, hey, Gene Smith just came out and said we can't play. That was because he was told to say it. I want to let you guys know. We all want to play in here. Justin, you're going to be a fucking Heisman guy. Good leadership here, feels like.
Great Twitter.
Go ahead and put a $250,000 petition or 250,000 signature petition out there, and you look like a leader. And it's good. I still don't know if this is all over. Even though Herb Street, who knows everything about everything when it comes to college football, he's been around for so long, he knows everything. I'm still not 100% sure that we're completely out on college football. But it does feel as if it's inevitable.
Well, and I saw a report today that said that, I mean, and again, with how many are coming out, who knows if it's accurate, but that the Big Ten is considering in a couple weeks, like, they might go back on it. Like, they haven't completely said, like, no, the season's over yet.
Our guy, Sir Yacht, who I'm not sure if he's a Barry McCockner or not. I'm not 100% sure because the things he's saying, he's contradicted himself on a couple tweets, which, by the way, as information flows in, I mean,
it's fluid.
With this particular business, I mean, we make decisions, and then literally the next day something pops up, and it's a different decision. Yep. So maybe that's happened with Sir Yacht's, his contacts and sources, but it just feels like if Ohio State wanted to big dog the Big Ten right now, they could do it. And is that not an Ohio State thing to do, AJ? I mean, you've been in Ohio is that not what Ohio people do? Like, hey, if I can big dog the fuck out of you, I'm going to big dog. That's an Ohio trait. I feel like that is in Ohio, not just for the team. I'm talking about for the entire state of Ohio.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, this is the time they have the national stage to do it. But I guess Ohio State, I think they're aware. They understand how much leverage they have, how much power they have. They can get people to follow them wherever their path may be to try to play. But even Gene Smith has come out supporting Ryan Day when Ryan Day talks about how we will continue to fight no matter what to try to make things happen. And sounds like they want to find a way to relaunch football because it hasn't officially been canceled or suspended. There's nothing like official. Nobody knows though. Like, no matter how many times do you go anywhere and someone's like, oh, what do you think is going to happen? Like, it doesn't matter who you ask. Nobody knows what's going to happen.
Well, the thing about me is I don't go anywhere because we're in the middle of a quarantine and I don't talk to anybody.
Smart.
I mean, like virtually, like online. I'm sure you get a lot of people coming at you. Like, hey, man, what's going to happen with this football thing?
I stopped tweeting with people because I was scared of COVID potentially coming through Twitter.
Yeah. Well, they were reporting there for a while that you could have gotten it.
Yeah. It could actually climb through your charger hole, too.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So don't even touch your charger hole. Mm-hmm. In 10 years from now, when we talk about this fucking COVID, I am pumped up about it to tell my kids the stories. Couldn't even make eye contact with somebody because they said COVID would go like laser beams, eye to eye. You're
retina
fucked.
to retina.
Kill somebody. Yeah, that's the way it goes. That was being said at one point. That was being said. Block your eyes. Cover your
Contacts.
eyes. Because it'll come through your eyes.
Guy put in contacts on the start of a flight, didn't have it when he got on the flight, got off, infiltrated his eye, got COVID.
Yeah, of course, it wasn't coming through the air in the plane.
No.
It was coming through the eyes, obviously.
Wasn't that pink eye, though? He got pink eye?
Both.
Yeah, well, he also stopped by a adult ballet.
Getting some milk
he
at the
got
grocery
the
store?
old face in the eyeball thing.
Poop in the
But
face.
what we're saying here is the issue, though, is we know nothing about this thing. We literally know nothing about it. The only thing that I know is that Wuhan back. Wuhan China is all the way back.
Baby.
And it's like, that gives me a lot of promise for the future if that's the fucking epicenter where they had hospitals built in 2 days to quarantine people away from people. They had nets that were going over people's faces whenever they were trying to escape. I mean, that place was insane. 8 months, a year ago? So my hope is that obviously we get back to it, but man, ain't nobody knows shit. And there's so many different doctors that contradict each other, and this scientist contradicts this scientist, and then this doctor. It never ends. It feels like it's a never-ending thing, and it's all going to be political at this end of this thing. And do we really care about the students, or do we care about potentially covering our own ass? Trent Dilfer came on the show earlier. How do you feel about Trent Dilfer?
I like Trent. Why?
See, I hated Trent Dilfer before I talked to him because I've only seen him on TV and the things he said on TV. I'm like, all right, shut the fuck up, guy. But then he came on the show for the first time and he basically told me, he was like, I'm really good friends with a lot of kickers and punters. So when I was saying those things on air, that was for me making fun of my friends. He didn't know that there was a little pit bull watching Indianapolis that he had never met that was like, oh, fuck this guy. Hey, this guy talking about kickers and punters. But today, his entire conversation about football and how much it means to, like community and how much it teaches people. I mean, Trent Dilfer's become one of my favorite humans to talk to. He's a head coach at Lipscomb Academy down in Nashville. They got a big game coming up this weekend. We're pulling hard for the Mustangs. But he gave this speech about how football, and it kind of lends into what Trevor Lawrence talked about, what Nick Saban talked about a year ago when somebody got in trouble. These guys, if they can't play football this fall, and for whatever reason they're not around the facility as often and doing these things, who knows what the hell is going to happen with a lot of guys. And that's just the reality of college football. You got a lot of young guys who potentially come from places that never taught them how they're supposed to handle situations or things like that. And that happens at all walks of life. There's a lot of different businesses where that happens, but a college football locker room is one where there's a lot of good. You learn a lot in there. There's a lot of things that happen. And if this gets suspended or postponed, I mean, I'm very intrigued to see how they just roll back into it and what casualties will remain from the postponement or cancelers.
Well, what happens, too, to the players? Do they go home? No, they're student athletes. They're students first, so they got to stay in school. Are you
going to class? Congregating
with the rest of the 50,000 people at Ohio State going to class still? Like, how does that work?
And are they going to get it from old Tony Two Bongs sitting next to me in class, and just because he hit 27 blunts, a gas mask, and a bong with a bunch of different people, and I was locked in my apartment, and I come and take a test, and somehow he either drops a pen on my desk, it gets it. Like, does the student then like what? How are they? None of it makes sense. And if they're treating the athletes differently than the students, that in of itself is an NCAA violation. So I would like to say that the way they're handling football is an NCAA violation.
Yes.
I would like to report the presidents that didn't vote. They just made an opinion. I would like to report them for an NCAA violation for treating the football players differently than they're treating the regular students who are allowed to act however they want. Football players aren't allowed to do their business. It's a bunch of bullshit. And by the way, we don't get paid to school, dude. Okay? We're not here to pay. We don't get scholarship to school.
Your move, Emmert.
It's true. I think what we've learned through this, though, Pat, is the NCAA doesn't have any power to really do anything. Do they?
Nothing.
Like the schools have the power now in the conferences, it seems like.
How bad did the NCAA get alphaed in this entire thing?
Absolute debo.
They're an afterthought right now. You don't even speak about the end. Like they're just completely gone, it seems like.
Wait until we get back into the real world or whatever, back into this whole thing, and they try to like make a violation or announcements, so everyone's gonna be like, oh, shut the fuck, NCAA. Hey, we don't even.
You don't mean shit.
Hey, what do you? I don't even. Excuse me.
Sit down.
Cool building, cool history, but you guys literally are a negative in this entire world. You are a nothing in this world. It is next to zero.
See, I thought Emmert did this, like he came out early and said the conferences are going to make the decision on this so that he takes zero blame for any of it.
Which is what you need a president to do. You know what I mean? Just go ahead and just fucking I'm going to relieve myself of any responsibility here before we even get into this. Let me get this brand new commissioner of this Big Ten conference. We'll let him figure it out. Brand new president of Ohio State. We'll let her figure it out. I mean, it's a nightmare, AJ. It is an absolute nightmare. And I'm worried about you and your autograph signings if Ohio State.
Oh, yeah. Seriously.
You know what I mean? AJ's still doing autograph signings for Ohio State. What if Ohio State football is no longer Ohio State football because they lose in the recruiting because Big Ten doesn't care about football? And Nick Saban, Coach O, Dabo. It's not going to get started with Georgia Tech. Jeff Collins going in there to recruit. I mean, you got a problem. And what if this kills Ohio State football? What if this decision is what potentially kills Ohio State football going forward? Is that something that you Ohioans have thought about? I've seen it on the internet. Sure feels like that is something that has been thought about by Ohio.
Yeah, it affects everybody in Ohio differently. Both the joy that they get to come to a game to watch their team battle week in and week out. Guys like some former players that may get to pick up a few extra bucks, signing some autographs before some big games, show up to a tailgate, do whatever, some sponsorship situations. Yeah, those are all gone right now, man. I don't know when those are coming back.
Man.
Hopefully they do come back, but in the scenario you laid out, they may never come back. So I should be pretty worried.
What if Ohio State doesn't even have a football team anymore?
Oh, no.
What if Ohio State decides to tear down the Horseshoe, not even have a stadium, not even have a football team anymore, because it's not worth it, because the glory days before quarantine are no longer coming back post-quarantine, because the SEC has about, I don't know, a 75-step advantage in recruiting because they're playing this year as opposed to the Big Ten that has canceled football. That'd be tough. That'd be a tough pill to swallow over there in Ohio.
Sorry, AJ.
Yeah, I think it'd be very tough for everybody. I don't think we'll get to that point, but you never know, man. We don't know day to day. But didn't you see the SEC just put out their protocols, and they said, oh, if you're in the stands watching a game, you have to wear a mask. You know, people were acting like, oh, there it is. You got to wear a mask if you're there. I was thinking, no, that's not. Of course, I thought for sure they would make you wear a mask. I'm surprised people are going to the games. Right? Like, how many fans are they allowing in? Do we know?
So 22,000 Kansas City Chiefs came out, or 17,000, 22%? 22% of Kansas City Chiefs Stadium is going to be open on opening night, Thursday night, which is approximately 16,000 fans. Masks will be required at all times for those attending, with the exception of when actively eating or drinking. There's going to be some asshole
Holding a hot dog.
who's going to be holding a hot dog and 2 beers. I'm drinking. And the home of the... You're going to see everybody ripping their mask. Chiefs! To get around that rule. I'll be excited to see how they do that. But the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, they got the Indy 500 coming up this weekend. They originally came out and said that they will have fans in the stands. There's been a lot of people who have said they'll have fans in the stands, and obviously it hasn't happened. But there has been some races that have had fans in the stands if they were socially distant. 22%. I assume the Kansas City Chiefs have done the math and figured out who would have to sit where, put masks on, let them come out and experience the game, see the Super Bowl champions and open night. But that is... I'm just so pumped that the NFL is happening, because college football, it feels like baseball, just a bunch of drama surrounding it. NFL football, from all reports, now granted, a lot of people got hurt yesterday, which is normal whenever guys get pads on and get hit again. A lot of pretty mid-tier, big-tier names got hurt yesterday out for the season, but it feels like the NFL is going to go off without a hitch.
Was it McCoy in Dallas who tore his quad?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I hate that video. I felt terrible for him. Not only did he a great player for a long time, he tears his quad. He was kick sliding like he was he was the offensive lineman for his buddy who was just kind of working on little. It was almost like a warm up type of thing, and bam, popped his quad. You feel terrible for a guy when he's basically giving a look to a teammate and he rips his quad off.
Being a good teammate, by the way, which doesn't have to do as a big-time starter, big-name guy, right? There has been, I would assume, not at the Colts, but I've heard stories of guys refusing to participate in those warm-up drills for other guys to get a work in. So that guy's doing literally everything right, pops his quad out for the season. But feel terrible. They signed Everson Griffin, which is
huge now.
Huge move now if you look back on it. But those types of injuries, first day of training camp, they always happen. Now, granted, this year it's being a little bit more spotlighted because big name McCoy, but also because there's no OTAs, there was no workouts. This is the first day back after a quarantine. And I would assume some guys did struggle staying fit during this entire thing, finding fields to work on. But injuries always happen. What is it about that first day, AJ, that you don't know about your body, even if you've been playing football for a long, long time? Is it leverage? Is it balance? Is it you don't know if something's prepared? Like, what is it about that first day that always causes a bit of a problem for people?
I mean, it's just different. No matter how many times you go through the first day in full pads, it's kind of uncomfortable. It's weird. It's hard to breathe. Everything you normally did for the 3 weeks leading up to it, like all the drills you've done, even 7-on-7, even 11-on-11 with no pads on, you can when you don't have to take people on, you don't have to hit people and wear pads. I don't know. Your body's just I don't know. I don't know what it is, but you don't have time to get your body like hardened. I talked about that before on the show. After 10 days or so, you kind of sink into your camp routine where your legs are dead and everything, but you kind of get this second wind and you can roll. But those first 7 days, it's a battle for everybody, especially the older you get. I feel like physically, especially mentally too, everyone goes through their different mental battles throughout training camp, but something about that first day, man, I don't know if it's just you're not used to getting hit and you're not used to hitting other people. It may have been 6-8 months since you've done that. That may be something. I think field turf plays a role in it. If you're practicing on field turf or not, I think there's more injuries there than on grass. But yeah, I don't know, man. Unfortunately, we're going to see more of them as more and more teams start hitting more.
That's just the way it is. The sport is a naturally physical, violent, injury-prone sport. That's just what it is. Is there something to not being like, because there's a lot of players that talk about they have to hit somebody early to kind of get into the game. Like they kind of have to to wake them up. They have to kind of get in there. I would assume first day of pads, I don't want to say you're not alert or awake, but until that first hit, I would assume that there is some, I don't want to say jitters or nerves, but you're not really in it until you hit somebody. He didn't even get a chance to hit somebody. It looked like that was in a warm-up drill. But is that something where you're maybe not ready for the contact yet, or you're not mentally there yet? Is there something to say about that first day of pads?
Absolutely. I don't know if you're nervous, but I think everyone's kind of anxious. Okay, when we do our first inside run period, which is, for any people that don't know, inside run, 9-on-7, whatever you want to call it, they're going to run the ones-on-ones, twos-on-twos, threes-on-threes. You're going to run reps through and through where the offense is going to practice their core running plays at you for that week. And you don't know that first time. Pat, I'm sure you got to watch it from the outside.
Oh, yeah.
When the coach blows that whistle and you're doing your first either 11-on-11 team drill or 9-on-7 inside run where there's going to be some banging, the whole place gets alive and everyone comes around. They like to watch. So, yeah, all the players out there, too, they're all trying to kill each other, but they want to get that good first shot in, too, and you don't know how it's going to feel. It does. No matter how many times you do it, it's still different. Every single time, the first day is always way different, and sometimes you're like, damn, man, I know. Why does my neck feel broke after my first shot I just gave to somebody? I hit the fullback or different things like that. So you have to kind of feel it out and see how your body's going to react, especially on day one.
How many concussions did you get on day one?
0.
Be honest.
Come on.
Just tell us. You can say it. It's safe space.
Just us here.
Just us here.
If I had fallen into peer pressure and wore a mouthpiece, I probably would have had a bunch of them.
This show has been one that has promoted cigarettes.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And now anti-mouthpiece gate is back from AJ Hawk. You firmly believe that mouthpiece is in the way because it loosens your jaw, you're saying. The mouthpiece loosens your jaw, which opens up the hole even more, which gives you're even more concussion proof. Is that your feelings? That is how you feel?
I don't know any science behind it. I only know strictly from anecdotal evidence of myself. It worked for me to not wear a mouthpiece. I had much better energy. I could move around the field better. I could talk to my teammates and my coaches a lot easier. Don't have to keep doing this. Oh, take it back into my face mask. Oh, wait, or I have the big hangy downer deal. Yeah. No, that's just too much work, man. And I feel like just find a way to hit people without a mouthpiece.
I didn't wear a mouthpiece either, by the way. No big deal.
Yeah, and you made some giant hits. I've seen your highlight reel.
And helmet to helmet. I've gone helmet to helmet as well.
What's the psychological effect on the rest of the team when you see a guy like Gerald McCoy or a star get hurt in training?
So it's always next man up is they'll be like, hey, we're prepared for this. We're prepared. Now is your time. We're happy it happened now, even though it was terrible. We have training camp. Now we can prepare some guys. This is an opportunity as opposed to an obstacle for us. I mean, there's all of those coaching points. But you got to remember training camp, even for 4 or 5 guys on each team, training camp is not just for everybody else on the team. Training camp is let's get through this.
Yeah.
I want to make this team. I want to get through this. I want to be healthy. 4 or 5 guys on the team get to call the shots. I'm not practicing today. I'm not doing this. You kind of earn your level to that. But everybody else is I don't want to say don't have McCoy to worry about. We'll let the coaches and we'll let the GM handle that shit that we got going on. And hopefully the backup will be able to get in there. But everybody else on the team is I'm just trying to worry about my own shit here. I'm just trying to get through this without getting injured. Do you agree with that, AJ? That sentiment right there?
Yeah, I agree with you. It scares you a little bit, especially when you see a stud like McCoy go down. It does make you worry. And then there's always a handful of guys that are like, oh, man, that dude is so lucky. He doesn't have to wake up at 5 tomorrow, get a piss test, and come out and do goal line with us. Unfortunately, there are people, Pat, that don't love the sport. They just love what football brings them, or say they were born an absolute freak and it's just what they're good at and they just play. There's plenty of guys like that.
A lot of guys. A lot of guys. And I remember there was one coach we had in the NFL, and he would it was a special teams coach. I'll say an assistant. Could have been a head special teams coach too. Literally, don't want to say this person's name because I don't know if this is something. They were bitching, though, out of the special teams meeting about how a couple guys don't love football. This guy doesn't love football. This guy doesn't love football as a coach. And I had to tell him, like, hey, man, I want to let you know there's a lot of people in there that don't love football, but you know what they love? Fucking money, okay? So even though they aren't motivated by the same values that you are, which is like you love football, you know what they're motivated by? Getting a check as big as they fucking possibly can. So I don't want to say maybe you change the way you coach them or the way you talk to them, but I know the human you're talking about. And you're 100% right. He doesn't love football, but that motherfucker would love to have 24s on his Escalade next week. So if we can figure out a way to maybe change your thought of, oh, he doesn't love football, he shouldn't be here, to like, oh, he has a different motivation than what I would hope that he would have. Like, that is obviously the balance there. And that is why my answer to you was there's a lot of guys who are just worried about their own shit. Like, listen, I just got to get through this, because if I get through this, I can make a living that is incredible for my family. And but that is a big blow to them, though, McCoy going down. How about this? Did you see Melvin Ingram is sitting out of practice? He's there, but he's sitting out of practice because he's in the last year of his deal and he wants more money. They just signed Bosa to a shit ton of money, and I think he was on Hard Knocks, wasn't he?
He showed up in the three-wheel bumping music, that blue
by the way,
weird car.
He was vibing very, very hard.
Slingshot.
I don't know who he was in a slingshot. AJ knows all about this. Remember, the slingshot was going to give me. Remember, slingshot was
that thing was great. I
December through March.
Yeah, hey, you know what? AJ Hawk is done with the slingshot in November. You can take it for the next 3 months if you want it. You would just have to post once or twice a week that you're in or whatever. Okay, December, January, February, you want me to have that?
It's not safe to drive on ice, by the way.
By the way, or there's no fucking roof,
there isn't.
So shout out to Slingshot. Fucking suck it, Slingshot.
Bundle up.
Well, they acted like they were giving me an opportunity of a lifetime. AJ had it through all of fall, fucking over there in Columbus, fucking whipping that thing like Melvin Ingram.
But Ohio State
license plate.
That is the first time, though, that I've heard in a long time, instead of holding out and not showing up, but just refusing to go on the practice field until you figure it out, because he probably doesn't want to get injured, right? He doesn't want to get the potential McCoy thing before a deal done. If you're Tom Telesco, you just signed Bosa. In the Spanos family, whether it's Tom Telesco or the Spanos family, whoever it is, not known for being like incredibly giving when it comes to contracts. How does this thing end? Because he's already there. So you're already there. You're at the building. You're going through the COVID stuff. You're just not practicing until you get a new contract. I guess maybe showing up is like an olive branch. Like, hey, I'll come.
Like, hey, yeah, I'll show up in good faith, but I'm not practicing.
Yeah. So I hope it works for him. I hope everybody gets $1 billion that they want to get, but I don't know how this is the right thing. Or maybe, by the way, this is being misreported. Maybe they're just holding on to practice so he doesn't get hurt. Like, there's a chance that happens as well, because he is a stud player. There's a guy that's going to make a lot of money somewhere who's had a hell of a career, but they just paid Bosa. It'll be interesting to see if they load up on another defensive end. I just don't know if that's going to happen.
Do you think he's there because he realized what happened with Melvin Gordon last year, and Melvin Gordon wasn't there and didn't get paid, so he's thinking maybe I sit here and then they'll pay me?
What a precedent the Chargers set, by the way. Yeah. You can hold out all you want, and you are not going to get paid. Okay, unless you're Ezekiel Elliott, all right, this is a much different fucking situation. Yeah. You saw what happened with Le'Veon Bell. He held out. See ya. Go somewhere else. Melvin Gordon, see ya. So Melvin Ingram, I respect the business side of it and trying to get as much money as possible, but I don't know how this is going to end up for him. I hope he gets $1 billion, though. I hope he does.
Don't you think if he's sitting out on his own, like if he's the one that told them, hey, I'll show up, but I'm not practicing until I feel like we have a new deal almost done. Does Tom Telesco and the Chargers, do you think they had a plan to re-sign him to a long-term, to an extension? Or if not, don't you think Telesco's got to tell him right now, hey, listen, we just paid Joey. You know what we have going on. I love you as a player, but we're not going to give you another deal. If Telesco truly feels like they're not going to pay him, I think you have to tell him that right now and be like, you can go on and sit out the rest of camp and whatever, you can take it right into the season, but how we're structured right now, we're not going to give you a deal. I feel like you got to be honest with the guy right now.
When are they leaking that information to potentially look for somebody to trade?
Possible. Yeah. How unhappy is Ingram? He can't be that unhappy if he's there, I'm guessing. I'm sure he wants to be there.
He was psyched when he showed up to camp.
You're right.
And he's an incredible talent, but there has to be something going on. There has to be some sort of deal being cooked up, because then how much longer are you just going to stand there outside of practice? Because at some point, Tom Telesco is going to be like, hey, are you going to start practicing or not? And, well, I'm not going to do a deal gets done. Well, a deal's not going to get done. So you might as well.
What's the reasoning? What's the reason they're giving for him not practicing?
Last year, it's the last year going into his. It was a big deal. I think he's made $7 million next year or something like that. It was.
And I don't think any of it's guaranteed this upcoming year, is it?
Yeah, there's no guaranteed money. So I don't. It was classic, like probably a 5-year deal. Last year, the deal. probably expect to be renegotiated for an extension beforehand. Now you got to the last year of the deal. There's no guaranteed money there. How do we make this happen? I'm a good player for you guys.
Captain too, I believe.
So I just don't know. I don't know how it's going to work.
Maybe they just give him. Maybe they find a way to restructure it to where you give him guaranteed money this year, and then say, "Hey, we'll work on it in the offseason. Maybe we'll try to re-sign you in the offseason, or if not, you can go out there and try to find some big money somewhere else."
We'll give you market value, which is always the classic. You go find a team that's willing to pay you, and then we'll match it like it's a Walmart or Blue Best Buy.
He's in the final season of his current contract and due $14 million in base salary in 2020.
Oh, so I was wrong with the $7 million. It was actually double that. $14 million next year. None of it guaranteed, though. There's probably big incentives on there if I had to guess. So he's not happy. He's just standing out. I've never seen that. I would love to be in that locker room, by the way. I would love.
Yeah.
I would love. Oh, Melvin. All right. Okay, fuck it. I'll come, but I ain't doing shit. You need to pay me. Like, I would love that because that conversation's happening. The boys are having that conversation in the locker room. Melvin, how long are you just going to stand over there? Because there's other D linemen, by the way, getting worn out in drills.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Melvin, is there any way we could potentially, maybe one drill and let them know I ain't doing the rest? Is there any of that going on? Huh? I'm intrigued to see how this works out. Anytime guys hold out, I have so much respect for it because I was never in a position, obviously, to be like, I'm not fucking coming. I got nothing but respect for it. But, boy, it takes a lot of courage to do it, and it can backfire on you.
Speaking of being worn out in drills, we saw this morning of Joe Judge making guys run laps after they make mistakes or whatever. Was that what the report was?
I forget. I don't know. I don't remember if it was Chuck who tried to do that like the first couple of days, or I was with a team that had a coach that did that. Jump off sides, you get a check, you have to run a lap afterwards. Doesn't have to be a fast lap.
This is college, right?
No,
Joe
in
Judge,
the NFL. I don't think it was Chuck. Somebody did it in the NFL. I forget who it was. It did not last. It lasted, I think, a day and a half, and everybody was like, I'm not fucking doing it. It might have been a position coach. Somebody jumped off sides, like, you have a lap afterwards. You didn't have to sprint it. You just had to do it. And watching, like, a grown man, like, just walk around and feel like, you motherfucker. Right?
Is that after the practice or right then?
After the practice. So
when they make people run, like say you get taken out of a drill, or say you jump off sides, false start, and you're all of a sudden you get the next guy up and you see a guy running laps around the field. I understand the punishment and what you're trying to like set the precedent. Hey, we have a very high standard here. You can't make these little mistakes. But then are you really making that player better? You took him out of valuable reps he was going to get. You already have condensed off season and you're making this poor 320-pounder jog a lap, and he probably misses 6 reps while he's doing this. Oh, hey, and then I got to come back in the lineup right when I get done, and I'm dead-ass tired, and I'll probably tear my Achilles.
And by the way, not dead-ass tired is when you make mental mistakes, is when you jump off sides. So you're just going to get one son of a bitch who's going to run, 7 laps throughout the entire period? I think it's afterward. Kevin Zeitler, who I don't know who the fuck that is. Who's Kevin Zeitler?
I don't know.
I played with him in Cincy.
Kevin Zeitler said on Joe Judge's penalty laps for players and coaches, he said we're going to be detail-oriented and there's going to be consequences for action. We all got to get better every day, and there are no exceptions. All right, I respect that. That Bill Belichick coaching tree always does well. Like those types of things. Because if you come from the Bill Belichick coaching tree, you're coming from the greatest coach of all time. You're coming from a building that has been established for like 20, 30 years on a set of rules. And by the way, those rules at year 10 are much different probably at year 0 because there's no resume to back the rules at year 0 as there is at year 10. So you saw it with Mangini in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. You saw it in a lot of different places. Matt Patricia in Detroit. But they've had enough patience for him to potentially build that, which we'll be excited to see how that works because Patricia is our guy. Love Matt Patricia. They'll be able to do it. Joe Judge, though, saying, hey, this is what I know, right? Because that's where he's coming from. This is what I know. This is how things are going to be. It's always going to be met with backlash. You just got to hope that the organization will have enough patience for you to build up that roster and build up everything with a bunch of players that can buy into that because this is a what have you done for me lately league. And if you don't get players to buy into that quickly, which you just heard AJ go, is that fucking college? Like, you're not going to be able to do. You're going to be out of a job, and you're going to be like, what did I do wrong? It's like, I tried to implement something that worked for 20 years in one place in year 1, and it's just not the same ball game.
Well, it's going to take time. It's going to take time to build that culture and also have everybody on the team buy in. Like, the rookies, first-year guys, they've only been with one team. They're going to buy in most likely. But those vets, if you have some free agent vets that come over, or you just have guys that have been in the league 10 years, especially offensive linemen, defensive linemen, DBs, they don't. Coach can tell them right to their face, and they'll laugh at them if you tell some of those guys to run a lap. If you have 2 or 3 of those guys on your squad, it's going to be tough to get the whole team to buy in because they're going to have an impact on all those younger guys too. Like, hey, man, this is not what it's about. This is not the NFL. We don't run laps here during practice. That's just not how it works.
That's like Matt Patricia lost the locker room. You remember that? That was exactly why, for what you just said. There was a couple vets that were like, we ain't fucking doing, what are we? We're doing wrap-up drills in period 1 in week 6. We're not doing that. That is not how we do this whole thing. Now he's getting his people in there, though, from what they're saying. And all reports out of Detroit are, hey, good football team.
Yeah, here we go.
NFC North is potentially, is it the Detroit Lions year, Foxy? Is this the year that the Detroit Lions end up winning the NFC North?
He really did kick out the veterans, too. Golden Tate, see you later. Glover Quinn, see you later. Darius Slay, see you later. So, I mean, he's got his guys in there. He's at 2 full seasons, year 3. Let's go, baby.
So maybe Joe Judge is taking the same. Listen, we'll get Freddie Kitchens in here. He knows a lot.
Yeah.
We'll get Jason Garrett in here. He knows a lot. Yeah. And then we'll go ahead and enforce these Patriot rules for the New York Giants. And by what? I don't know, year 7 or 8, it should fucking kick in. We should have real success at that point. It's going to be tough, I think, but I'm happy that he's trying to implement that type of thing. It's just it depends on who's in the locker room, who's not in the locker room. And if you get Danny Dimes to buy in, big deal. You get Saquon to buy in, big deal. If you get either of those two to maybe question it a little bit, probably problematic for the entire culture. But I like Joe Judge, special team guy. Go ahead and get in there. I hope he has success, but it seems like it is potentially going to be tough. Did you ever have a coach that ran sprints after practice, like conditioning?
My linebacker coach a few times during camp tried to make us run like half gassers after practice, not even for just like mistakes. We would just get together and run half gassers, and it lasted for like a day and a half, I think.
Quarterbacks always run after practice, right? There's always like a group that runs.
Because they don't run during practice. Like they don't get the conditioning that everyone else gets.
Yeah, me neither, but I never even signed up for that ever. But there was, I forget, we got a new strength coach in there, and he thought that we need to do conditioning after practice, which, by the way, a lot of vets were like, well, then turn up the practice then. If you think we need more conditioning that isn't in practice, figure out
practice is your conditioning. Mike McCarthy always said it, like, our practice is our conditioning. If we're practicing like we should, this is your conditioning. We don't have to do extra after, and I completely agree.
So we had me and Vinny were out there, shoes untied, okay, waiting for practice to end. Our periods have been done for, I don't know, probably 45 minutes at this point. We've just been watching practice. And normally when practice ends, we know how many periods are in the practice. Horn blows. All right, we're going to bring it up. So we start jogging towards the middle of the field. They go, field B or something, field 2, go over to field 2. And we're like, oh, me and Vinny are like, oh, what the fuck is this? So we go over, everybody on the line, we run gassers after practice, right? Me and Vinny's shoes are untied, and we're running the first batch of gassers. And we ran with the offensive linemen, obviously, because we're smart. We don't know how many of these we're running. We're going to run with the big guys. But, boy, that locker room immediately after that, because nobody knew it was coming, I thought we were potentially not going to have enough guys to field a fucking team the next day. Everybody was like, we ain't doing that shit. They need to figure out practice if they want us to run. We are not doing that because that last couple periods, guys are either trying to go as hard as they can to get as much work in, or they're trying to survive. And whenever you're not told that there's a little cherry on top here, by the way, of conditioning, and you're talking about 30, 40-year-old people, it's like, all right, you're going to have to fucking treat me with a little bit more respect with a heads up here. That conditioning after practice, it lasted one day. I think it was one day. It did not happen after that. It was awesome. It was. I think I almost vomited.
College teams. You think college teams do it? You know what we did at Ohio State with Coach Tressel was like a Michigan period we had every day, and just to hype up the rivalry. And Michigan. At some point during practice, he would hit his whistle, and we would all go to the one field, and everyone lines up, and everyone runs half gassers, but you don't know how many you're going to run. He just said, Michigan period, whatever. And the coaches run too. So he'd be like, linebackers, go. And we take off. Our coaches running with us. O-line, go. And there's all, O-line coaches are usually pretty beat up. And they're hobbling along. And we'd run maybe 4 gassers and full pads, which just coming off a team period. And we always knew we were going right to like a 2-minute drill right after that. So you had to run hard too. The best was we do that every day. And you jump right into like a 2-minute period. Everyone's dying. And the coaches are trying to make a call, and they can't breathe either because they just got done running 4 half gassers as well. So it made it, although it wasn't easy by any means. It was always a very difficult time in practice. It made it fun, I guess, because other coaches would love to make fun of the other coaches that couldn't handle it, and guys fumbling his script out of his pocket trying to get a call. Offense is waiting for something. Like, you could do it like that, I guess.
But that is a very college thing. I mean, that is just that's a college thing. And by the way, I did not know Michigan. It was like every day in practice there was a Michigan period. Did you guys lose to Michigan?
I lost once. Yeah, I'm 3-1 against them.
Oh no!
It feels like Ohio State has had its way, though, with Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
For like
They haven't won
the last
in, like,
15 years. They have
8 years, right?
Who was the quarterback for Michigan to beat you?
big old dude. Michigan had a big tall guy. It was my sophomore year. We went there. Chris Perry was the running back. I think he ran for 400 yards on us. Like it was a tough one. It was a battle.
In Michigan, in the big house, you said?
Yeah. Who was the big tall dude? He played in the league for a while.
Chad Henne.
Big tall. Who?
Ryan Mallett.
No, I went to Arkansas.
Chad Henne.
Mallett did also.
I played against Henne. Henne's about my age or like 1 year younger. But no, this guy was older than me. He was a senior, I think, my sophomore year. I'll think of it.
Jim Tressel, Michigan period. We used to have to chop him just in the middle of a period if Rich Rod didn't love what was going on.
And he'd blow the whistle and you have to do like up downs.
Oh yeah.
Those are bad. And when you don't know how many you're going to do.
Oh, I was always in the corner too. So I was like furthest away. So I felt like there was always a reason to yell at me, right? So that everybody knew that everybody on the field is currently being watched. Fucking get them going, McAfee.
And they're filming it too. Like they could go back and check the tape if they want.
Oh my God, I haven't kicked in 30 minutes. What do we do? Because a D lineman fucking jumped off sides. I got to do this. That guy isn't even going to. Oh my God, that guy isn't even going to be on the team. Oh, I'm dying. I'm going to puke. Oh, it's over. Let's go back to period one. Field goal period up. Oh, fuck you. I mean, those middle. That was what.
Wouldn't that be good though? Wouldn't that be good practice for you? Someone said this to me earlier, and it got me thinking. Someone would be like, "Well, that's good. You get to practice you get to practice kicking when you're really tired." And I started thinking, when the hell would you ever be out of breath to kick in a game?
They actually, once I started kicking and punting for the Mountaineers or whatever for West Virginia, like they started like dialing it back on me a little bit. Like, hey, we do not need asshole to pop his hamstring because we don't know where he was last night. Okay, we don't know how hydrated he is, and we don't need him running with the speed group. Because I used to run with the speed group in the sprints, right? Soccer player. I mean, I used to be able to float, so I would run with speed group. And then literally as the years went on, I got dropped, and they're like, McAfee, run with the fucking offensive line over there. We do not need you getting hurt. It kind of transitioned to that. And then in the NFL, it even more so. Like I ran those gassers or whatever, but they're like, listen, we do not need you. Okay, we do not need you pulling a hamstring. That's why when I had that fucking that tracker thing on me and it went 20, I was the fastest guy on the field that one day. I went 22 miles an hour because I got in a golf cart and fucking I had it on the other field and I was going downhill, downwind, and it said 22 miles an hour. And they read they have these sensors that track everybody's your fastest speed, how far you ran, your heart. Yeah, it's sensors. Everybody, they look like sports bras. You see all these dudes wearing them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we had full.
They're awful. They're the most. I hate them. They're so uncomfortable.
Yeah, we had full shirts that had the back thing in there, and they were very tight and uncomfortable shirts. And I did not want to wear it anyways because I didn't. So obviously everybody mocked it when it first got introduced. I forget what it's called. I forget the name of it. It's It has a name. Every college has it now. Every NFL has it now. And they're all wearing those sports bras because the shirts are so uncomfortable, by the way. They have their sports bras on. It looks terrible, whatever. But I had it in there, and I was just, we got the results back the next day, and I was very low because I didn't run or whatever. And I was like, all right, I'm fucking with this for sure. So I learned how the coaches' meetings went. And in the coaches' meetings, when the strength coach would get up there, they would just pull up the graphics, the stats from these fucking these sensors things. Fastest person on the field is this person. Person that ran the most is this person. We need to dial it back on this person. So I was like, oh, this will be hilarious. So I get a golf cart. It was like one of those gator things though. So it had a little bit of juice, and there was a little bit of an incline. I would go downhill, and I just fucking hit that thing. And I went like 22.9 miles an hour on that thing or whatever. And I came back to practice. Nobody even knew. So that night, I assume in the entire team meeting, because one of the athletic trainers told me, they pulled up the slide. It was fastest person on the field, Pat McAfee. Who ran the least? Pat McAfee. It was I dominated the entire thing. They didn't give me the thing back. I didn't get the thing back ever again. And I was like, well, I'm out of it forever. Everybody else had to have it. It was electric moment. But those are the things that I could think that people would be like, fucking hate that McAfee's on this team. I could see that is the case.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure every day there was something you did to annoy somebody.
Well, I was bored. What do you want from me, man? I'm just sitting here in training camp. These guys are running.
I understand, man. I get it. I think I told you a long time ago when we got those trackers in Green Bay. Yeah, how Green Bay works, it's different. You see the kids riding bikes, the whole tradition.
Yeah.
For training camp, that's from your locker room down to your practice field. But during the season, when camp's not going on, you get all fully dressed in the locker room, even shoulder pads on, and then you jump in your car and you just drive across the parking lot. Across the street, you park at the practice facility, and you go in, and then you come home. And they found one of our D linemen one year. I was talking to the strength coach. He goes, "Check this out, man!" And he shows me the screen, He goes, this dude, it says he ran like 14 miles at practice or whatever. I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, I got his little thing out of his shoulder pads and plugged it in, and it mapped his whole route. And so this dude got dressed really fast, left early for practice with his shoulder pads on, helmet sitting next to him, and drove all around town in Green Bay, most likely inhaling some vitamins before, drove all the way around. They saw his whole route. They could see each road that he took, everywhere he went, and then turned this thing back in after practice like nothing happened. I think the dude, he was a good guy. They loved him, but I think they maybe started putting his tracker on him once he got down to the practice field. He didn't put it on early anymore.
So hold on. Let's go back. You guys get fully dressed, hop in your car, and drive down to the practice field all season?
It was so weird the first time it happened. I'm like, wait. I'm like jumping in my car full. They're like, oh, you driving? Like, especially if you're young. They're, yeah, you're driving. I'm going to get in with you. I'm like, all right, cool. And then as I got older, I like to drive, and I like to drive myself and have that little 3 minutes of solo time before you get to practice and you start killing each other. It was just nice to have that time. But, yeah, you full pads, get into your car, and it's so funny, too, like especially in the winter when it's salt everywhere. And guys, when they're young, they bring their sweet cars to Green Bay, which is a huge mistake. Guys learn real quick. You can't do that here. Yeah, it's really weird. Then all of a sudden it just becomes normal for you. And then when somebody from the outside sees you, like you drive by fans and people, like I drove by my wife before
helmet on?
Wearing full pads. No, I didn't have my helmet on. That'd be awesome if you did.
Yeah, I think I see you like driving with your helmet on just past your wife. Well, got to go to work, babe. See you later.
Got to pay the bills, kids. Yeah, maybe.
That's high school.
I mean, they should. You should wear your helmet in the car. Really freak people out.
That's high school football, though. Get dressed, go on the bus, and then drive over there. I'm happy to.
We would do that. Our coach in middle school, when we'd have our full pads on, riding in a tiny bus, tiny seats on the bus, full pads. We'd get like 10 minutes from the stadium, or from, I shouldn't say stadium, in middle school, from whatever field we're playing on. And our coach would stand up and he'd be like, all right, strap them up. And we'd all put our helmets on and buckle up and everything 10 minutes before we arrived at the field.
Well, I used to strap it up with a face mask, a gas mask, actually, like Laramie Tunzel. And that used to be something I do. AJ, I can't thank you enough for joining us. We will see you down here mañana. I appreciate you in advance. From all the boys that are here on camera and off camera, we appreciate the hell out of you watching wherever the hell you may be. Attaboy, Zeet. Hey, zoom in on that Zeet thing, man. Can we get that one? Look, that thing has real – there's silver in the gold there. Silver.
The best thing is that Zeet is just always shirtless.
Well, he's not. He currently has a shirt on right now.
Right now, well, he's working. But I'm saying when I got to see Zeet last week, he just strolls around shirtless pretty much at all times.
I'm comfortable, baby.
Wait till you see what this fucking Don chain he's got now. I mean, he is
next level.
Next level. All right, from all of us, all you. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. It is fight week. I fight a man in 4 days, Saturday night. NXT TakeOver 30. SummerSlam weekend, WWE Network, free for new subscribers. Also, I will be on NXT tomorrow night. A lot of people are questioning whether or not I'm going to show up. I am going to show up, just not alone. I'm showing up with that jawline right there, Darius Butler and Italian Nick. Let's have a day. That's the show. We'll see you mañana. Cheers.